dans cette vidéo où je vais regarder ce que j'ai loupé. J'étais pas au courant que hier c'était les FNCS Global Championships Day numéro 1. J'étais pas au courant. Du coup, on va regarder ça tranquillement. Si vous voulez la regarder, je vous invite à aller sur la chaîne de Fortnite officielle sur Twitch si vous voulez regarder la rediffusion en entier. Mais en tout cas, je compte rien rater. Donc, aujourd'hui en Europe, les représentants d'Europe, Monaco Merstache, Falcon Tyson, donc Falcon Tyson, hein, une personne qu'on connaît depuis assez longtemps. Il me semble, alors là, si je dis pas de conneries, il me semble qu'il est double champion d'Europe ou voire peut-être ex-double champion d'Europe. Ensuite, on a Malibuka avec Thomas HD, duo très connu qui représente l'Europe. Hein. Ces deux duos font partie des meilleurs duos d'Europe en termes de compétition. Et ensuite, en Amérique, malheureusement, eux, je les connais pas. Ensuite, nous avons le Brésil. Donc le Brésil, pareil, on connaît pas. Asia, on connaît pas. Océanie, on connaît pas. Enfin, moi, je connais pas. Middle, je connais pas. Ensuite, en Europe, nous avons Veno. Donc, le prometteur, pour moi, c'est avec Crazy. Pour moi, c'est l'un des prometteurs à pouvoir gagner, du coup, les championnats du monde. Donc aujourd'hui, c'est une sorte de championnat du monde. Bon, ça reste les FNCS, mais comme vous le voyez, il y a à peu près, tous les endroits du monde. Donc c'est comme une sorte de coupe du monde. Donc Monaco Veno, hein, très 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 prometteur avec Quizy, hein, qu'on connaît bien. Ensuite on a Vaniac et Carmi, pareil, on connaît bien. Donc on voit bien que l'Europe est chaud. Camille City, pareil, on les connaît très 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 bien. Europe, Gripay et Flixi, je connaissais pas, maintenant je sais. Pareil en Europe, on a iDrop avec Mapted. En Amérique, on a AJ Digdu. Bon, je connais pas trop. Cooper Mero, Polof, Sphinx, Feather, Cam et King. King, c'est peut-être le King qu'on connaît. On verra bien. Je sais que c'est un Brésilien et je sais que c'est un très 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 grand joueur de Fortnite. Donc prometteur lui aussi. En Asia, pareil, je connais pas. Océanie, je connais pas. Middle, je connais pas. Europe, on a un joueur Valiant, Trulex. Pareil, ces deux-là, je les connais pas. On a Misha, Tenny, pareil, je connais pas. Blasha 75 et Mixon 75, pareil, je connais pas. Europe, Robab Kebab et Axe Force. Donc Robab Kebab et Axe Force, c'est des gros joueurs solo qui sont très 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 forts en solo. Pareil, ils font partie de l'Europe. Et ensuite, on a les Français les plus connus. Donc c'est les seuls Français, hein, M8 Sneezy et M8 Podasai, qui bien sûr comptent représenter la France et bien sûr comptent bien remporter ce tournoi.
All in one lobby together. We're seeing...
Ensuite, on a, pareil, ça je connais pas en Europe. Krolzekowski, je connais pas. Fatroski, je connais pas. Donc on voit bien qu'il y a beaucoup de nouveaux joueurs. Evoza Shari, je connais pas. Nanana. Ok. Donc tous les Américains, pareil, je connais pas. Batman Booga, grand mystère, parce qu'il faut savoir que Booga, du coup, c'est le champion du monde. Donc il y a quelqu'un qui se fait passer pour Booga, donc c'est assez marrant. Okis, donc on voit que son partenaire est pas venu, donc il risque de jouer la compétition solo. Je lui souhaite bonne chance. C'est quand même dingue de pas venir à ce championnat du monde, quoi. Parce qu'en termes de notoriété, en termes d'audience, les gens sont vraiment au max. Et ensuite, on a qui d'autre? Bah pareil, tout le reste, je connais pas.
So many massive names on the screen right there. Yomzo and Rise, of course, qualifying through to the upper bracket. A team that we're...
Because now you're thinking a good point here. Duos that I wanted to kind of...
And build a wall there, and that's what separated them from success and failure.
By we can actually 15.3 in the grand finals. The players that in that...
Donc le upper bracket, hein, les top 25, donc tous ceux qui sont en top 25 vont en grande finale. Top lower bracket, donc c'est les teams en fait qui vont remplacer les teams gagnantes. Donc c'est des teams qui sont en attente et qui attendent leur match. Et qui attendent leur match pour pouvoir remplacer du coup les 50 teams qui font les FNCS. Donc voilà, et ensuite on a la Day 3 pour départager tout le reste.
That bottom 25 will go to day number 2.
Donc vous imaginez bien que pour pouvoir être sûr d'être qualifié en championnat, fallait surtout avoir sa place en jour numéro 1. Mais on peut toujours tenter sa chance pour le jour numéro 2, comme par exemple les Solari qui ont accès au jour numéro 2, donc ce qui est énorme. Et donc on verra bien. Et ensuite, jour 3, c'est la grande finale. Donc pour la DI 1, désolé, hein, je vais spoil, hein, mais pour la DI 1, nous avons du coup les M8, donc nos joueurs français qui n'ont pas réussi à se qualifier pour le jour numéro 1, qui vont tenter leur seconde chance pour le jour numéro 2. Mais pour le jour numéro 2, nous avons les Solari qui font partie de la partie. Et donc, à la fin, on verra si nos joueurs français vont réussir à se qualifier.
Players from the last chance major are...
In the bank, done early. Recently introduced to the game. They've already had a new dynamic to the game. Of course, we have the fourth with that team 3 points, and of course the Rift Island play. Let's...
And Thomas, that's in all.
Par contre, je comprends pas l'anglais, donc si vous comprenez l'anglais, je vous invite à aller sur Twitch.
Of course, Cal Gamer seemingly getting it unconned in Middle East. Everyone in Middle East is just feeling like, you know what,
c'est lui,
let's
hein.
just let him have it. He's the king of this area.
Le
But
joueur
King
qu'on connaît, hein.
himself has been actually contested.
I love theirs from just any house. The both merchant from get down into
that.
Thank you, Arjun. So, Cal Gamer, I'd love to speak to you first.
Mais je crois que c'est lui, hein.
I watched a little bit and I realized how he plays. You know,
Mais je suis pas sûr si c'est King. C'est le King qu'on connaît. Le King de la World Cup
Obviously, you've been
à la sortie
watching,
de
right? We've
Fortnite.
seen all the invitation like that. It's a little up. I'm saying very excited.
I mean, I know the.
what I want to
have to their leaders out of strike Evans.
Elle est stylée sa coupe de cheveux.
At the end of the day, Kanata is
Elle est stylée sa coupe.
Trophy. FNCS Global Champion.
Oh, comment il est beau sa mère.
One duo will break.
Il est grave beau le trophée, wesh. C'est incroyable.
So get ready.
Wesh.
This is the FNCS.
Ramenez ça pour la France, hein. Oh. Wouah, c'est spectaculaire, hein. Ah ouais.
Crown a champion if there are no contenders. Copenhagen.
Bonjour, madame.
Hammer meta. That is what we are number 1.
And we're hearing it right himself. What a perfect up.
Major 1 getting second place and only lose.
So
There was all the hype around the frag.
Old debate.
make theirs,
but more have
big.
round 3.
They take
And
And he
major
really, these players
doubles.
qualify.
Is there
One of the
edge
way through,
Ah ouais, il y a tout le monde qui arrive, vas-y.
fortitude?
and really and truly, it's one of the hardest things to do. Is when it's your last chances, when it's your last opportunities to punch your way straight through to the biggest opportunity of your career. And
Ah, ils font des émotes Fortnite et tout, des barres.
surely all of our major 3 qualifiers had to play with that pressure. They had to play with that knowingly, you know, a looming pressure of, hey, I can only do this one more time.
Ah ouais, on voit les cris hein, pour les gentlemen.
That they want to go straight in to that finals lobby here on Sunday. This is their moment.
Incroyable. Incroyable.
How you gonna perfect Agent Land? Yeah. An up 33
Place now.
to make
Unity.
I don't want to take those men.
environment.
Question here.
Not
Plus,
some
from here, look at
Ça y est, on peut démarrer là? Ah ouais, c'est spectaculaire hein. Ah ouais.
championship game number 1 starts.
Oh la
Here
dinguerie.
is the boss.
Ça y est, ça commence, wesh.
Really take to the world and see who will be able to put up all of the numbers that they are
Alors cette ville, c'est une ville de fou hein. Je sais pas s'il y a des bots.
With King and Gamer.
And keep in mind.
Ah ouais, il y a des bots hein.
We heard a little bit in the pre-game.
Ah ouais, il y a des bots hein.
King, Calgamer. Neither side particularly scared of the other. Both playing his best, but Thomas, he's taking the 50-50. It's
Du coup,
Kanata.
Thomas qui s'est fait arracher.
Find the first down.
But it's a trade. It's a trade on both sides. Aegis is down as well. Kanata will have to do a big convert here or go head to head, toe to toe with Malabuka. Malabuka just has.
Par contre, il a pas beaucoup de construits, il lui reste une construit. Ok, heureusement, il se protège du bus.
Things are gonna slow down. It's gonna come down to everything. He gets the first tags. Can he get
Non,
the follow-up
Malibuka, il
here?
peut pas perdre.
Pressure's on. One
Et il lui a fait une technique no build, wesh.
A moment here.
Mmh.
And that is massive. The reboot ban providing just enough coverage away from those pistol shots out of
Wow, non.
50-50 will get
Incroyable,
you can
wesh.
see that is the simple.
Malibuka, hein, très prometteur. Hein.
High ground, all of a sudden the leverage was thrown onto the other side, but here we have Nutty and Capser who are contesting Booga and Threats here at the Sanguine Suite. This is a very tough battle to have to go against as well because they too are going for a landing of 50-50, depending on, of course, what you pick up here, but so far it does seem like Booga has to play a little bit slow. I do not see his duo inside.
threats seemingly already eliminated here.
Ok,
so
c'est
no
Booga qui
reason
se tire.
to try and choose the proper moment to engage. Just gonna stay crouched for the time.
Et je crois qu'il attend un moment opportun. C'est lui le champion du monde, les gars.
And Infiltrator Pump might be able to buy him.
Ou à cause du Covid, il est resté pendant des années, voire peut-être ça fait 4 ans, 5 ans, même. C'est entre 4. Il est resté champion du monde pendant 4 ans ou 6 ans à cause du Covid, les frères.
They seem to be just taking their time, actually prioritizing some of the loot inside of Singlet.
Well, as one duo falls, another one rises up to the occasion. Here we have Yamzo and Rise looking pretty solid, getting their drops and their route together. So far, so good. Speaking about other things happening, though, I did see Baka, who is also contested up towards the northern portion of the map, get an exchange off there too.
Ok, donc c'est Queasy qui sont chez les samouraïs.
Down at the Kenjutsu crossing.
Yeah, way outside of the map, and the real curious question to ask here is how well exactly they're going to be able to manage some of that early surge, because being this far south at Kenjutsu, it's not exactly the easiest in terms of elevation, having to deal with some of those other teams surrounding you. Can maybe expect that Queasy might look to wait for Venom to continue scouting a little bit further in, maybe towards the bridge. We might see them looking to implement a little bit of surge strategy. And
Ok, Tyson qui prend une méga hauteur.
he's having to eat some damage as is, but has plenty of shield.
Donc c'est super important de mettre des dommages. Pourquoi? C'est super important de mettre des dommages. Pourquoi? Parce que en fait, la zone, elle quand tous les joueurs vont se rejoindre, le serveur va pas supporter ça. Du coup, ils ont trouvé une solution Epic Games, c'est la Storm Surge. Donc la Storm Surge, il faut mettre des dégâts justement pour qu'on puisse survivre. Si on est moins du seuil du dégât, une éclair vient nous taper la tête à peu près tous les 5 secondes pour que justement on puisse mourir. Mais pendant que les éclairs puissent nous taper dessus, on peut toujours mettre des dommages pour essayer d'être au-dessus du seuil. Donc voilà, super important de mettre des dommages dès le début de game.
Yup, big trades happening here. Now we see Yuma getting tags in the distance too. Surge, of course, is going to be one of the equally most important things to worry about. Meanwhile, in the feed, Acorn has found himself an elimination too. These are all of the contested battles happening here. The drop map standing true exactly as we expected. Teams that were aware of teams that were going to land on them are definitely fighting for it.
And you can imagine the confidence boost, the momentum that some of these teams engaging in those 50-50s are bound to be looking for. And the best part about it is getting those eliminations so early on leaves you plenty of room to actually continue working on their pre-planned loop pathing, not having to really worry about interference towards some of those rotations.
Ils sont chill dans leur petite maison. Ok, donc là, on a Cold et Acorn. On voit qu'ils sont à peu près dispersés là dans la forêt, tout le monde. Mais ça reste quand même une bonne map. Vu qu'il y a des arbres partout, des buissons partout, des feuilles partout. C'est quand même assez difficile de te repérer.
Just seal top 25 for today, right? The goal is get to grand finals.
I mean, just think about the amount of sheer splashes that Acorn just had available for himself. 12 splashes to work with is a huge amount. They can definitely take their time in terms of finding those ideal movements in case they need a little bit of that slap effect to work with. Thoric, meanwhile, continuing to seek out a chest that might be left over, splitting there with bolts. Seems to have an idea of maybe looking over towards one of these forecast towers, maybe also keeping an eye out for that reboot van in the distance as well, for anybody that gets some ideas early on.
Donc pareil, hein, se met au-dessus justement de la maison pour essayer de tirer sur des dégâts, comme je vous l'ai expliqué. La Storm Surge, très important de mettre des dégâts, sinon on meurt. Donc on voit bien que quand tu es joueur pro dans Fortnite, tu as le stress aussi de mettre des dégâts, tu as le stress de survivre, tu as le stress de faire, faut que tu fasses des bons choix.
They've already exchanged between the two. You can see the passive standoff here, but these are fights that are so important. These are fights that you need to, at the very least, entertain for now.
As far as Kylie is concerned as well, a little bit of leverage there over King with some of that height, but seems as though King has spotted out that Kylie is just a little bit across the way from him. But transitioning back over to Pink and Vico.
Donc là on voit que le Pink bas il va pas tirer sur des mecs tout de suite parce qu'on voit qu'il y a personne autour de lui. Donc lui pour l'instant on va dire qu'il est un peu embêté. Surtout qu'il a 0 kill, donc la foudre va s'abattre sur lui là. Ça a l'air d'être une très bonne position en plus. Ça le...
Looks like we got a little bit of a standoff here on the rotation on in. Hero in triple FHD. Pretty tough situation to be in. Tagged up here, forced to go ahead and bunker down, save for a second here. It's Ritual and Reet who have a bit of a high ground position here, looking down. Very nice spot to be in. Meanwhile, Heroes and Shari also nearby, getting the pressure of the lobby here. Ritual and Reet can determine any team that they want to put the pressure on, and others are going to look inwards to see if they can jump in on it.
Barely hanging on right now, just inside the edge of this zone. And the way that it's breaking out for them just does not seem to be all
Donc
that
les joueurs
difficult.
français.
Just like for Snazy and Podesai, under quite a bit of pressure here. Snazy's gonna have to take some time now to actually try and regen some of that white HP, some of that shield as well. Not sure if he even has any members to work with, but Podesai, he's scouting the area, making sure that they're both still aware of what exactly is surrounding them just outside of Rumble Ruin.
Les seuls joueurs français, j'ai envie de dire.
They're working here. The community rallying for Podesai here. But a very tough spot to be in halfway through the materials. But hold up, we get back to the fight here. Bak and Pars already had 2 eliminations, and another team is looking to influence them a little bit more as they were trying to get to the new safety. This next zone here, just a minute left before it starts to move again. They're in a pretty difficult spot here, digging deep into the trenches right now.
Donc on voit que Papa est, ça va être très compliqué pour lui.
But again, this is a fight that you're expending time, you're expending some resources and build.
Il est en 2 contre 1.
Zone for both of these players, both of these teams. Well, I say teams, but okay, Papa left as a solo to fend for himself. Trapped at brutal fashion, essentially. Does not seem as though Pars and Baka.
Ok, ça attaque la box de Papa, ça lui met une balle. Et ça le finit. Ah, il a rien pu faire. Hein. Il a rien pu faire.
Just enough to take him out. Easy elimination in the 2 versus 1 scenario, but again, they're all the way at brutal. They still have to rotate.
Donc on voit bien que Brutal Bastion, ça a été conquis du coup par les deux qu'on a vus.
He wasn't quite sharp and aware, but no, they are leading in eliminations right now, possibly picking out the competitors here today. So far, so good. Meanwhile, TWIS, QNDX, and Rapid already on the move here. Trying to get situated. Queasy and Vino. Queasy actually hit the sniper shot to open this one up alongside Vino. Vino really set themselves up for success. So Surge looking well, but not good enough to really conclude the battle. So they're just going to move on over. But for Queasy and Vino, I mean, they'd be surely excited to see Cammy and Seti not make it.
I mean, they have to be at this point, given that they're still in. They're still able to continue trying to accrue some points on the leaderboards. I know, taking his time right now with that suppressed sniper, seeing if he has an opportunity here.
Attention, oula, Veno qui a pris cher. Hein. Je pense qu'ils n'ont pas vu les 2 joueurs qui attendaient au-dessus de la montagne.
Yeah, let's not forget, Chicho and Trulux were definitely under some pressure here. So they're not sitting the prettiest when it comes down to overall material, but all in all, they do have the great position.
Ok, préfère redescendre. Hein. Je pense que Queasy et Veno, ils ont voulu monter au-dessus de la montagne justement pour essayer de mettre la Storm Surge, mais on voit que la position est déjà prise. Hein.
Giving Queasy's loadout as well. That first assault definitely going to come in handy when you've got a gold twin mag. Bonus damage, always a plus on that first shot. And the same thing as well for the first shotgun augment that he had rocking there with that gold sharp dude. So you can definitely expect him, or then expect that there's a reason why him and Veno are looking to try and find those bamboozle opportunities. Not too surprising though to see teams still trying to collect as much brick as possible here. Karmi and Vanyak definitely wanting to acquire just a few more builds, but understanding the fact that some of these teams.
Donc on voit ici, il y a beaucoup de béton. Hein. Bien sûr, hein, ils vérifient voir s'il n'y a pas des joueurs qui se cachent. Très important. Maintenant qu'ils savent qu'ils sont tout seuls, ils peuvent en profiter pour essayer de maintenant gratter les murs, gratter les plafonds, les sols, pour essayer de faire un maximum de béton tout en étant safe.
Meanwhile, on the feed, Miro's taking his own damage to himself, possibly taking some fall damage, possibly being deep in the zone here, falling on a late rotate. Could be troubles on the horizon here. Let's not forget, Miro has all of the in-person experience. He has the FNCS titles under his belt, but his teammates needs to pick it up. Let's watch those Sphinx. Look at the material count here. This is a desperate plea to get somewhere that he can replenish. So coming into the Mega City comes with its own risk, but there it is. Refarming material is going to be the name of the game for them. Meanwhile, securing the island, Malabuka and Thomas HD. A huge, huge gain here.
Donc apparemment, si tu prends le drapeau, tu gagnes 15 points. Je connaissais pas cette nouvelle règle. Et c'est seulement du coup le drapeau de cette île. Donc on voit déjà Malibuka et Thomas HD, on voit qu'ils vont se mettre au beurre. Déjà qu'ils ont 8 points, 15 points vont se rajouter à eux, ils vont faire partie déjà des premiers du classement.
Bound to be some other teams.
Enfin, il y a moyen.
Maybe if they can't get the capture point, might still be looking for the vault that remains, but that is a free 15 points there. For Malabuka and Thomas, and the team's rotating
On
from
voit
the
que le
underside.
public applaudit hein, pour le
Gotta be
drapeau.
careful now because that's
Donc
a
regardez en haut à droite. Hein. Reft Island 15 points.
Baka has 3 elims. They scored more points than those 3
Donc vous voyez bien que c'est quand même énorme hein, ces 15 points. Hein.
Very, very great way to put yourself into a Sunday position. And now we watch some of Brazil's best Quitos and PH Zin versus Baka and Pars here. Man, Baka and Pars has not had an easy way to the safe zone so far. I wouldn't be surprised if storm sickness turns on at this point for them.
But when you think about it, they're nearly 600 above the damage threshold to be that far up on Surge and yet still in a less than favorable position here. Is there a possibility that they may have spent too much time looking for some of those early fights and that might have delayed them just long enough?
Yeah, well, listen, we got to get caught up with the in-game and the mid-game, so let's go to 11.
Thank you very much, Monster. Look, there are so many high-profile battles we've been watching all across the map. But one that we need to pay attention to, the Invitational champions, Cammy and Seti, went down early against Daedus and Stain, and it was a fight we knew could happen, but many people didn't actually expect it to go down how it did. Daedus and Stain wiped Cammy and Seti off spawn, and now they're conceding throughout the game, and it's going to be a big question mark for whether or not
Stain qui se fait attaquer par derrière. Aïe 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 aïe, il a un HP. Ouais, les adversaires qui s'approchent s'engagent à un 2 contre 2. Stain hein, qui fait tout hein, pour essayer de protéger son mate en se le montrant en premier. Très important. Comme ça son mate a tant de se heal, mais on voit que Stain a préféré fuir. Je comprends. Ok, Bouga qui a pris une grosse tête. Heureusement qu'il avait un bleuvage. Ça permet de faire un bon reset, on va dire ça comme ça.
Bouga just looking so isolated right now. Bing and Gun just really taking their time to see whether or not they want to try and finalize on an elimination onto Bouga. Bouga definitely aware, definitely closing in, sees that brief moment of separation there between Gun and Ping and feels as though it might be his opportunity to strike, but Gon being certainly aware of the fact that they're going to have Bouga trailing him behind them, and Bouga, he's trying to take shots where he can. Gon having some difficulties getting those builds up behind him. That's going to put them in a really rough position as both of these teams struggling to make it into zone.
For a second there, I thought he got the knock there.
Close.
Would have been a huge come up for him, but now he does have to move in, so just 97 above. He will recognize that, of course, he has to continue to fight and push his way through this. Meanwhile, Hodesai finds an elimination onto Quitos. And other trades happening there too. 7-man finding an elimination. And his teammate, Mshari, gets one as well. So Middle East.
On voit que Bouga est tranquille et qui joue solo.
Picked up Okis just a bit ago. That's going to be the single elim in the pocket there. And a long rotate now as they have to push all the way eastern here if he wants to get
Ok, Mero. J'espère juste que Bouga est à 2. Parce que j'ai carrément oublié c'était qui le partenaire de Bouga. Ok, un Mero qui engage un fight. Chiokis. Ça fait du bien pour la Stamp Serve. Ouh! On dirait bien qu'il y a un adversaire qui les a sneaky.
It's a very dangerous pocket to be in. I like that they're going out and around the edges here, but zone is already up to 2 ticks worth of damage for every time you sit in the zone there.
Alex and Worthy also have a little bit of an uphill adventure. Crash Pad's definitely gonna help out with that as far as just getting them some forward distance coverage, but again, you have to expect that there's a decent amount of teams that were kind of situated inside of Mega City. Those will be some of the front leaders as far as getting more towards that center of zone. Got a handful of teams trying to
On voit que
prioritize
Bouga les suit par derrière. Attention, hein.
further away from Mega City and Hero. A nice little glide in. Won't be interrupted there on the launch pad, but look at this, Lou. Look at these builds. That is not the kind of loadout that you want to see.
J'avoue que c'est pas mal, hein, la rotation crash pad plus pad. Hein.
Into the double metal fortress here to pick themselves up that low ground position. Meanwhile, Acorn and Cold just slide their way in. So
Ok, Bouga qui commence à prendre la storm. Non, je sais pas si c'est Bouga. Mais Bouga, il a dû mettre assez de dommages, je pense. À voir, à voir. Mais en tout cas, on voit que la Storm Surge est active. Donc il reste encore 7 joueurs hein, pour que cette Storm Surge s'arrête. Maintenant 5. Vous voyez les éclairs hein, qui frappent du ciel jusqu'en bas. C'est pour punir tous les joueurs qui n'ont pas fait assez de dégâts.
You know, Queasy, they have so much space to work with. You can see some of the congestion that's starting to build on this bottom edge of the zone, but as far as Queasy and Men are concerned, they're definitely far enough above the damage threshold, 439 damage above. That heisted breacher as well for Queasy, depending on which direction they actually choose to tarp out in, could make some quick work of builds.
Ok, les joueurs français sont en vie. Bonne nouvelle.
Luga's in a very tough position here, 172 damage below the surge threshold as the pressure continues to mount on top of his shoulders here. Already out of material now. This is an all or nothing situation. He hears a fight happening nearby.
Ok, donc on voit que Bouga a fait sa storm hein, depuis le début. Mais malheureusement se fait ramasser par derrière. Et malheureusement Bouga qui n'obtiendra que 4 points et qui commence mal cette compétition. Pour justement essayer d'être de nouveau le champion du monde de Fortnite. Donc voici nos joueurs français.
Sneezy and Podesai though, following on with them a little bit earlier on. We saw them initially in some pressure throughout some of that mid game, but definitely managed to work through it. High ground though doesn't really seem to be.
Déjà niveau life ils sont assez pas mal. Et on voit qu'ils sont assez bien positionnés. Et j'espère qu'ils vont réussir en tout cas. On va vite le savoir. Ok, donc Thomas qui arrive à faire sa rotate juste avec un slide. Il s'est mangé 52 shields sur les deux. Je vois une grosse pause, c'est terminé. On voit qu'ils ont vraiment slide au bon moment. Ok, hein, donc faut rejoindre la zone, ça y est, ils sont en zone.
Day of competition tomorrow.
But here's a little early glimpse into the leaderboard so far in match number 1, and Thomas Malabuka, they seem to be leading the charge. And with Ping and Kyrie having just been freshly eliminated there, this is a moment. It's all Malabuka and Thomas looking to see as though they might try to work their way up through that secondary height layer, but as far as Merstash and Payson are concerned, they know they've got teams surrounding them every which way. Right now, it's about picking the right direction to go. And a lot of these teams trying to avoid some of the water that's just on the side of this zone.
NA just has a few teams alive. Acorn and Cold being one of them. Baka and Pars. Cooper is up still too. Meanwhile, Queasy and Vino.
Ok, hein, donc Queasy hein, qui décide de crash pad avec son collègue. Justement, prend une méga hauteur. Vont-ils réussir à avoir le high? Incroyable! Incroyable! Oh, ça a décidé de casser, mais il décide de remonter. Il dépense beaucoup de maths hein, pour essayer de conserver cette hauteur.
King, meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, as a solo forced into the water, swimming through this.
Ok, King, hein, qui arrive à nager, hein, qui arrive à nager, il a 0 de maths, il tente sa chance.
And it's going to be an opportunity for Strokey to possibly no, instead it's going to be King.
Combat aquatique. On voit qu'il y a quelqu'un, on voit qu'un des deux duos est tombé dans l'eau pour essayer de ramasser du stuff. Donc Quasi et Veno hein, qui conservent toujours cette hauteur hein, comme d'habitude j'ai envie de dire.
They are doing it again. They did it at the Invitational. They're doing it at the Championship so far. Remember, this is going to be arguably the most difficult bracket to fight your way out of. It is, of course, the 50 best that played through their respective times of those seasons throughout this entire year.
Ok, ça essaye de casser le high, mais ça suffit pas. Ça suffit pas parce qu'ils sont toujours en haut. C'est les maîtres du monde, on va dire ça comme ça, vu qu'ils ont la hauteur.
Looking to stay as close to Acorn as possible, because as things continue to move, you can expect all these other duos to follow suit. And Alex gonna eat a shot immediately, Alind.
Meanwhile, High Ground goes for a fight here. Mustache and Tayson trying to take it all away. They take down OCE's power. Alex as well there. Big find for him. But no, they have to conclude. They have to concede it. They give it down. Queasy puts up the fight against Tayson.
Queasy qui tue Falcon.
Well. No material left. We're the High Ground team. A very tough spot to be in, but it's all or nothing now. The end game is already theirs. This is surely a successful run already. Re is still up too.
But they just need barely enough builds to actually connect it to the hill over this water where everyone else is trying to deal with it. Reed, though, alongside
on voit que le duo a remporté mais a perdu un soldat.
Looks as though Queasy may have fallen in the feed as well.
What a big trade here. Just a couple players.
Veno hein, toujours en vie hein.
This is it. Veno solo here, but he does have builds. The clutch is possible. He's also one of the healthiest here on the lobby.
Fastrokey hein, qui a la hauteur, mais par contre qui a pas de mat. Donc ça risque d'être très compliqué pour lui. Ok, tire sur Fastrokey, puis... Fastrokey hein, qui avait pas de mat, mais vu que Veno avait encore des mats, bah du coup il avait une dominance. Donc première game Veno qui remporte la victoire. Ah mais ils sont vraiment trop forts. Ils sont vraiment trop forts.
Yes, I have run down to
Et il a toujours la même coupe. I don't speak English. Veno, I love you.
You know? Say zero in the because the office a little bit earlier here, but no big slurps. Taking Queasy, I'm gonna be sad.
Ok, donc là c'est les rediffs. On va aller regarder les meilleurs kills. J'espère qu'il y aura des kills que j'aurais pas vus. Donc Iclay. Ouh. Wesh.
6 crash pads, but also had 2 mythics.
Wesh. Ils ont pété le mur. Veno qui a mis une tête direct au snipe. Non mais c'est pas les meilleurs duos du monde pour rien eux.
So good on height, just putting the pressure down and actually using those crash pads. Of course, we saw Queasy going down a little bit earlier here, but I think if I'm Queasy, I'm going to be so confident having better.
Wesh!
I mean, just look at that. That's what he can do. Massive shots. If there's anyone you want clutching up as a solo, it's Veno. He's got the aim. He's got the game sense. He has the mechanics. And of course, he's such a smart player.
Let's go! Comment il est grave content de sa mère. Aïe 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 aïe. Ah là là, ces joueurs tellement talentueux.
Is there? And I was like,
they're like team getting. They seem to just aim in the Fuka, who managed to pick up battle right there. What a time to do! What a way to kick off the weekend, right? Thomas HD managing to win out off spawn. It wasn't even Thomas actually that clutched it up. It was of course Malabuka who managed to pick up this assault rifle off spawn. Really great for him actually, because he just found that little bit of high ground there at the end. I really like the way he used the reboot van to block as much shots as possible, and then this little hut managing to find that high ground.
Ah ouais, ce kill magnifique, magnifique ce kill, du no build 100%. Mec. Là on reconnaît les mecs no build.
A lot of people may have been expecting Malabuka and Thomas HD kind of just take it so soundedly, and And I think that they might be taking it a little bit easy, but if
The Southling zone, they know where the spawns are just
a little bit sooner, it could have been a bit of a disaster for Malibuca.
Can't forget, of course, they had that Rift Island as well. Of course, it was a Southling zone. They know where the spawns are just outside of that racetrack area.
Ça,
Not
c'est beau.
actually too many spawns down in that sort of southeast area, so they were actually able to.
Il lui a dit, mon gars, c'est toujours pas fini pour toi.
Uncontested.
Viens, on va arracher cette coupe qui est magnifique.
Of an in-person event. Who has the guts
Thomas,
to
malheureusement,
against these guys?
qui a essayé de prendre cette hauteur, hein, qui aura tout fait hein, pour prendre cette hauteur. Hein. Mais on voit que Quasi et Veno, hein, ils ont un CDI pour prendre la hauteur, mec. Ils ont un bac plus 10 de la hauteur, ces deux-là. Mais ces deux-là, à chaque fois que tu lances une game Fortnite, enfin que tu regardes une game Fortnite, tu vois tout le temps Quasi et Veno en hauteur, c'est incroyable, wesh. Ça va faire 6 mois ou 8 mois que j'ai pas suivi la compétition, mais on voit que... Regardez, sur toute la liste que je vois, je connais que 2 ou 3 duos, tu vois. Et bizarrement, le duo qui m'a le plus impressionné cette année, et bah Veno et Quasi. Incroyable. Donc ouais, Quasi, Veno premier. Ah, il y a un joueur qu'on connaît, il y a Fast Rocky. Il y a qui d'autre que je connais? Il y a Thomas HD, Malibuca, donc très prometteur. Je pense que eux, ils vont pas lâcher le top 10. Hein. Les gentlemates.
Instead of being able to kind of just use these mobility items to rotate around the map, they're gonna have to tarp up, they're gonna have to protect themselves as they rotate all the
Ça c'est beau, hein. Ça doit beaucoup encourager nos joueurs français. Hein. Surtout, ça doit être magnifique, tu vois. T'es venu en Amérique pour encourager tes joueurs préférés, quoi. C'est tellement magnifique.
And you mentioned them there, Acorn and Cold in 6th place. They made it to that end game because of their off spawn. And initially, we were thinking, different thing murders for them. This was a height team. They seemingly
high or in that middle where.
Top 4. Listen in on the players. So let's relive this moment, but from Veno's perspective. Nice. 200 I got it. I'm coming up.
Ok, joli kill de la part de Veno. Yeah. Donc on voit que... Mais c'est incroyable parce que pendant que Quasi prenait la hauteur, on voit que Veno a fait son petit 1v1, a réussi son 1v1. Ça veut dire qu'à tout moment, Quasi il aurait pu être tout seul sur cette hauteur. Vous-même, vous savez, il a failli se faire contester par Thomas HD. Thomas HD, très gros joueur qui aime aussi prendre le high. Donc c'est quand même dingue.
I'm dead. Top 4, all duos. Land on,
Du coup, Veno hein, qui tombe dans la box et là, boum.
Nice. I'm stacked. Yeah.
C'est tellement beau.
2v2, or one solo and a duo. Top 3. You have Madness, play Madness top 2. Play Madness top 2, trust. I'll let you know if he gets knocked. I got him. I knocked him. Yeah.
Donc on voit qu'il a sous l'adversaire Fast Rocky hein, qui a essayé de s'approcher, mais vu qu'il était très bien boxé Veno, il a préféré remonter, sauf que Veno l'a tué. Oh là là, ce sourire. Aïe.
Tell me what to do, and then just let me.
That's perfect.
Incroyable.
As you would have, I think they might have sized their
two right there. Going to be
top finals.
They did
a box add there the end.
Start own points and adding another
survive.
People
still scared. So got jerseys.
This
Certainly got some of the crowd going, and I can't wait to hear how things hot up as the competition continues. For now, let's head back to the desk.
This is what it's all about. It's hard to not get a little bit emotional when you think about, like, we have been having competition kind of going ahead to media and the whole.
It's a great swing. He's Reek to make it happen as much boxes in these guys. I mean, we've seen Reek performing on these international stages before, not quite having the best results that we would expect from his caliber of player, but I mean, he's crazy. He's going to be hopping in boxes as we get to have a little look at some of the highlights from them. Of course, Ritual putting on such a great show there as well. And again, this is what we talked about earlier. They're just able to pick up refresh. You can see Reek right now, 0 builds. He thrives in these environments. When he's got nothing, when he's down in the dirt, he can just pull something out of the bag. And you can see it right here. He's got all the loot to make it happen as much as possible. Unfortunately, couldn't quite make it all the way to a victory, but second place for those guys. If that hill wasn't in the way, a little Reek versus Venno 1v1, I want to see it.
And I love just him showcasing there all of the ability that he has.
Yeah.
The quick builds, the easy edits, the great eliminations, the patience as well as the aggression.
Something we how you think that's
You're down.
at this point. It's a test up ASAP. So for them, they had to expend a little bit of heals, of course, but that did give them the storm surge damage. I know Taco mentioned it on the cast. They had
on voit qu'il a pris cher, hein. Il s'est pris 2 balles de pompe et il a 1 HP.
Again, needing those refreshes, hopping in the box. And recently, these guys
Mais
have really
incroyable,
been
hein,
impressing
ça,
me.
Luc.
They've been cooking. They've been doing really good. I mean, look at that.
Baka down to a sliver of health, literally 1 HP. But what he did is incredible. The confidence that he has.
Wow, il est trop fort ce pompe. Non mais vraiment.
A lot of these players would do. Instead, he kept going for that refresh, and clearly it worked out for them. Pars unfortunately getting 1v2'd there, but still, after that fight, they have to be feeling good.
Remember, both these guys actually played with different teammates at the Invitational, so I think those land jitters, they're
on
not
voit que ça lag, hein.
those guys quite as much. And I think that's why they got to a very, very good
On voit que c'est pas
start
très
there,
fluide
despite
tout
the
ça, hein.
zone going all the way down to the south. They had all the answers to all of those questions, and I think in this stage, in this environment that we're in, that's the most important thing, just trusting your game.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting word that game 2.
Ah, j'adore sa coupe de cheveux. Salut madame. Bonjour monsieur.
Here it is. Game number 2. Again, Mon's crazy. Look at this.
Ok, ça démarre.
Really looking to play upset here.
Ok, un Seti qui a pas réussi à avoir son coffre. Ok, un Mekami hein, qui a réussi à choper une arme et réussi à tuer Stain. On voit qu'il tire à travers le mur. Vu qu'il y a des trous dans le mur, on dirait que les balles ça passe, hein, ils le savent, hein, ils sont au courant. Moi j'étais pas au courant hein, personnellement. Hein.
To build as Datus now looking for a little bit of a wraparound just outside
Oula,
of this
oula.
Datus getting some nice shots. Seti
Ah,
will go down.
Un KO, 1v1.
Between Cammy and Datus.
Décisif pour les deux duos, décisif hein, ce combat.
He is capable of coming second. The FNCS major thing for the Asian region, but no one comes in. Cammy finishes the job. They strike back.
Oh, il l'a eu en l'air, wesh.
Meanwhile, it looks like Kanata and
Wesh, il lui a mis en moins 100 dans les airs, wesh. Incroyable ce qu'il lui a mis. Ok, deux duos ici, incroyable.
Meanwhile, North, Pars, Baka. Coming out of the early game, they had 3 eliminations. So it wasn't just this team they finished. They had more to fight after this.
But it started with Pars and Baka getting that early duo elimination onto Misha and Teeny. And whether or not they can look for a repeat instance is all going to boil down to whether or not Baka and Pars really want to try and take a more aggressive push here.
We
Call of Whispers.
Have to bounce back, though. We absolutely have to look at a quick highlight here. Take a look at how Kanata, with the redemption,
ok, un Khan. Hein. Est-ce que vont-ils avoir réussi leur revanche? Ok, arrive à tuer Malibuka. Ok, un Thomas, hein, maintenant qu'il se retrouve tout seul. Mais un HP son adversaire. On voit que le duo Malibuka font un retour lobby, ils devront attendre 25 minutes. Même voir 35 minutes. Hein. Là, ils vont devoir attendre 35 minutes pour avoir une troisième chance lors de la troisième game. Ok, hein, donc on voit que Bouga a son partenaire avec lui.
really showing you that, hey, there's a limited number of opportunities you have.
On voit qu'ils sont deux à partager cette ville. Hein.
Strokey and company might be coming on over and look at this.
Ok, le petit moins 20.
Cammy and Seti, they might have dealt with Stain and Datus at the beginning, but they still have plenty of work cut out for them. For Strokey, just slightly above Cammy for the time being. Cammy, though, doing a good job utilizing these builds. Some brick gonna be going out. Not enough yet for Strokey to feel comfortable. And it's Cammy with that left side peek, a bit tough to try and work with.
Seti watching the side angle here, seeing if he can take advantage of any opening, crack in the armor here. But for Strokey, putting the pressure on, starting to run low on ammunition here, so he will have to be careful or make a decision here to full commit. Instead,
C'est bon, j'ai un petit moins 50.
Cutting right through the over shields and the additional shield pot there, so he's gonna have to dig into it. Meanwhile, Kylie with the side
C'est ça, hein, tu édites, tu tires, tu édites, tu tires. Ça se joue vraiment sur le temps de réaction.
Another great angle. Cammy really hitting the tags when it matters right now.
That's tough for Kylie as well. I mean, he's really got to get up close and personal. That suppress pistol going to be difficult to work with in comparison to that sharp tooth. But Cammy, Seti, they are not willing to budge. They are staying as close to each other as possible because they also want to make sure that they stay in contention of this capture point, not trying to let it go for free towards Kylie.
On voit que le duo préfère partir et laisser tranquille Seti.
Push them off entirely. So it does look as though Cammy and Seti are going to buy themselves just enough time, and the capture point will be in their favor.
Meanwhile, Pink and Vico lurking nearby. They're contesting half of the split off of Acorn and Cold. But now, on the other side, Slappy Shores, Tayson, and Merstache. Here's the team that can truly take home the grand finals if they can make it there. Definitely a pick, indeed.
What a tower base, though, for Tayson. I mean, you got a couple of med miss waiting. Ample amounts of shield potions.
Donc les deux, les deux ils vont se faire leur stamp search trop facilement, incroyable. L'autre il a mis full shield, il s'est mis full shield justement pour essayer de faire un maximum de dommages sur l'autre côté de la rivière de Slappy Shore.
Onto Teeny, there it is. So the full finish onto Misha and Teeny.
Incroyable leur strat, incroyable la strat de Tyson quand même.
There is another duo lurking from above, Chubbs and Bryce, looking on down, trying to see what they can do to influence this exchange here. Can they find tags to go ahead and put themselves in a successful position? So far, so good, but these are absolutely important exchanges here. And listen, Bars and Baka, man, you got to give them some respect, dude. When it comes down to performing, you would have thought at the Invitational, hey, look, we don't have LAN experience. What's going to happen? Nope. They are here showing that they didn't need it. And they're even better than the last time we saw them.
Don't really need LAN experience if you can just trust your instincts as a player. And that seems to be exactly the mentality here for Pars. Just breaking through Teeny's builds. Teeny, absolutely no health to work with in that circumstance. But it's a nice establishing point there, because now that is 2 games back-to-back. That's going to start to pose a real issue here, because again, Monster, it's only 5 games, and for Misha and Teeny to be knocked so early on, they've got some ground to really make up for at this point.
A lot of ground to make up. Recover to be made here, but Acorn, Cole looking good so far. Vibing out here, trying to see if he can farm some surge in a distance. Meanwhile, Ritual.
Magnifique sa pioche FNCS. Ça veut dire il a été champion, soit champion d'Amérique, soit champion d'Asia, soit champion de Moyen-Orient. C'est des pioches vraiment que tu peux seulement gagner si tu réussis à être premier lors d'un championnat d'un continent quand même. C'est quand même incroyable. Magnifique. Je ne savais pas que un tel joueur avait une telle pioche.
Seems as though they're just gonna build a little bit further into this jungle biome, and Yuma, Neymon doesn't seem as though they have any other incentive for the time being as far as aggression is concerned, but might be having to pick things up a little bit, as again, we did see some teams struggling a bit in game number 1 as far as that surge
ils
damage
voient,
threshold is concerned.
eux, ils sont vraiment tranquilles. Regardez, il n'y a personne autour d'eux sur la carte. Ils ont juste à se mettre... déjà, ils ont fait leur métal, donc ils ont déjà fait le plus gros. On voit que Fast Rocket a déjà fait un kill, donc ils ont déjà mis de la Storm Surge. Super important pour pouvoir continuer la mid-game.
On the other side, Pink and Vico from the Frenzy Farms now up to a high ground position here. I'm gonna go for trades, and oh, what a dirty angle there for Vico. Those are extremely important onto teams inside the megacity.
But again, we see some of the action that's been unfolding here so far, but we've got Levin to give us even more.
Thank you very much, Taco. Look, we just saw Pink and Vika there on the screen. We've seen Acorn and Code in this game as well. Coming into this game, both these teams in the top 10. If you know anything about me, I like to see action. I like to see fighting. And I thought these two were going to be fighting. And even Pink himself said, look, we might have to fight them. There's not enough loot in this area for both of us to share. But they're somehow making it work. So far in game 1, both of them, they're making things so scrappy. Every single bit of loot they can get, they're going for. And somehow they're in the top 10. If they can continue, I expect both of these teams to qual. But when it comes time to grand finals, I don't expect them to be friendly anymore. I'm thinking if they can both qualify, that's when we're going to start to see some action for them.
That's an excellent point. It's one thing to make your way through a top 25 being the the hurdle to overcome. That's a pretty low barrier for some of these top tier competitors. But when you get to finals, you know it's gonna be a lot harder now, as number 1 is all that matters for the best of the best.
Déjà le petit moins 50 là, ça te met tellement bien. Mais c'est toujours pas assez.
In one of the pre-show videos that we saw, Cap Metal is so important for him, and you have to expect that at his split drop, he is not trying to share by any means with anyone else.
Well, take a look at this. Zagu and Peppo actually have finally found themselves elimination. Last game taken out a lot earlier than they would have liked. So this is their chance to go ahead and bounce back, put some numbers on the board. And they have a very, very interesting strategy. They're actually healing Striker and getting as much surge.
C'est quoi cette strat?
What a unique position to be in, but also you have to be so smart to think like this. This is how, again, ahead Zagu and Peppo are.
But imagine being Striker.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette strat de fou?
Decided, just watching yourself benefit some of your competitors to the utmost extent.
And if you're a Fortnite like super nerd like I am, that right there, that was
genius.
That was so genius.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette strat?
Worthy, meanwhile, he's got to get a different sort of strategy going.
Je pourrais même pas vous expliquer là ce que j'ai vu.
Will get some nice shots onto Mustache. Actually tags him up all the way into his white HP, but still holding strong here. Worthy doesn't seem all that excited to give up this positioning that he's established just yet, and for good reason. It's a pretty nice aerial view.
Here's Gyros and Shari now. Great position here. Zone's already starting to hold more center than the last game, so this will be a very much different terrain than what we just saw in the last game. That's going to be probably a warm welcome.
Donc ouais, hein, c'est ça la strat, hein, les gars. Tu mets des dommages, et dès que t'as perdu un peu de shield, hop, tu retournes là où t'as conservé ton shield. C'est comme ça qu'il faut jouer.
Cooper, not sure he's even fully aware of the fact that Zagu and Peppo are based just a little bit more towards the interior of this jungle trench. Miro following suit behind Cooper. These teams trying to make sure they don't stray too far from each other, but still wanting to make sure of the fact that they are collecting the resources they need. Because we saw just how congested that last game was, especially with the way that zone was pulling so viciously over the water. So much of these teams were just getting trapped inside of that mid-layer territory.
Meanwhile, the Rift Island is going to start to formulate here. Jumping just outside of Re and Rituals.
Ça y est, Lille a apparu, hein. Comme je vous l'ai dit, celui qui obtient le drapeau de cette île obtient 15 points. 15 points, c'est énorme.
As they were in the 76-point threshold range of total points, so they can get a big 15 here with the Elans and some placement. They will be in the top 25. It could be done and dusted here, as there are only 5 games, but no, instead they say, hey, look, let's go for the full rift. Get straight to the top.
Donc on voit que c'est les premiers arrivés sur l'île, directement ça prend le drapeau.
Able to juke out some of those distant shots in the air, and being the first ones to actually touch down on Rift Island does mean that they'll be the first to try and make use of those bonus objective points with the Capture Island point. But again, Re and Ritual, I mean, who did we see last game on the Rift Island? It was Thomas Malabuka. Well, guess what? They got eliminated super early by Kanata and Aegir. So
ce qui est bien avec cette île, c'est que quand tu prends le drapeau, les gens peuvent directement le savoir sur la carte.
As long as the game has started, it seems.
Donc, ce qui permet, par exemple, de ne pas prendre des risques pour rien. En tentant sa chance, en essayant de prendre le drapeau, on peut tout de suite savoir si quelqu'un prend le drapeau.
They've made their way to this position here.
But at this point, it almost seems as though Chubbs is just trying to waste Baka and Pars' time, trying to force them into expending some of their resources, some of their splashes and heals that they might not have wanted to let go of otherwise. And again, it's still early on.
Pars goes into the box. He's going for the full push. Baka's here to back him up. And this is what happens. You shake the hornet's nest and you might get stung. And luckily for him, he will escape somehow, some way, barely sliding his way out the side there. Baka has a different goal in mind, though. He's going to go around the outskirts here. No stranger to the zone. Continues to play with it, but ouch. That surely wasn't a part of the strategy here as Chubbs 2 stood behind. Tough spot to be in now.
But look at Chubbs' builds. They're running incredibly low. He's actually going to forfeit that height positioning, but it's not like Baka and Pars have any idea, but now Chubbs seemingly under pressure from a team slightly further out. Still has to make his way in through the zone as a solo. Not sure if he'll find a reboot ban opportunity either this late in.
What a spot to be in now if you're Kanata and Aegir. Even more pressure as they only scored 0 points in game number 1. The first team to be fully eliminated, but not humiliated. They do have a true chance now. Finding tags here now into Thoric and Bolts. Of course, some of NA's best there too. Very few can say they've wielded the pickaxe of champions, but hold up, jump in with Colleen Fastroki, who's already gotten an elimination. This is actually a full finish that they picked up, potentially onto Cammy. And now Seti is by himself. My, oh my, what a tough spot to be in for Cammy and Seti. Of course, didn't pull the luck of the draw game 1, and now game 2. Not going in their favor necessarily here. Could we be seeing them at a lower bracket push?
It's the fact that Seti and Cammy already had to deal with one nuance at the start of match number 2.
Wait, no way he gets the save, right?
Seti going for it.
So
might make it to Cammy in time, but unfortunately the rocket ram speed just not enough. Having the reboot card though, we talked about how difficult it can be to look for that reboot ban opportunity, but it might actually be the intention from Seti at this point, because it's a lot easier to make it into that end game if you have your duo with you.
That is right. Well, last game we saw Booga.
Ouais, il va aller raise son partenaire dans la tempête. Il va prendre aucun risque.
Let's see if it ends up working out. Meanwhile, Queasy and Vino continue to farm their surge tags here. Desperately in need though. 145 damage above that. Protection is not going to be enough, not for long at least. They're recognizing the potential threat looming. Here comes the rotate though. Another sniper in hand here, so Vino really flexing and exercising his
dommage.
play here.
Oh là là, ça a frôlé la tête ça.
Vino though, taking his time with the approach, as you would expect. Have to keep him fine for as much of a fragger as he is. Oh no, trouble though for Threads here. He's got a nice knock, it seems. Might be able to find the double finish, but still, Anon doing everything in his power to delay as long as he can, but this storm is so problematic. Threats.
Avec la balle de pompe, il a réussi à mettre KO son adversaire en partie grâce à la tempête. Oh, il a réussi un 1 contre 2. Non mais oh. Aïe 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 aïe. Dire que t'as les meilleurs joueurs du monde et que tu peux toujours faire un 1 contre 2. Non, c'est incroyable. C'est incroyable.
Surely the map doesn't quite add up, so he needed a little more that we couldn't see if it was that overshield that kept him alive there. My gosh, how close that was. Well, for QND, Rapid here, Middle East, two of their finest here. It's time to get on into this new zone here. Long rotate to make, and it's going to be a tough one for
Ah ouais, magnifique ça rotate.
Meanwhile, out of the top 5 here,
ah, c'est trop cheaté le planeur.
Remaining here in game 2 for Strokey and Kylie down, and Shari, Vision View down there. You can see on the right.
Non, je me rendais pas compte à quel point c'est cheaté le planeur.
For QND and Rapid, did see them with that Storm Chaser augment, so that's definitely going to benefit them a decent amount. They continue to look for those rotations. Klonsky and Grolls, on the other hand, Circplants doing the job as far as getting some health and shield regen is concerned, but definitely still need to wait around, see if they can get more. But unfortunately, when you are this far below the damage threshold, 320, and then some to work with as far as damage is concerned, and that number only growing bigger.
Yeah, that's not enough. They need a,
ils sont en train de tanker là.
Quite short here. But I mean, hey, I like this strategy. Of course, he's going to continue to replenish. They can bounce back and forth, but at what speed can they stay alive here now? Trying to rock it out.
Ils sont en train de tanker la Storm Surge avec des fleurs en bleu.
Really starting to run thin on time now. Eventually, the math will catch up. One false move, and they are down and out.
Seems as though they're really hoping that.
Wow, mais tout ça, ça a été travaillé, hein. C'est quand même incroyable. Qu'est-ce qu'on apprend des choses.
Dean gets Eland, and then the gap isn't as big as it initially seemed, but for Vico and Pink, they've got a whole nother mess to cover. Only 18 below damage threshold, so the pressure is definitely on right now, but it's on Pink.
Seti is the one who's going to clutch up here when it matters. And although he may have saved Cammy, unfortunately, it does seem like he has to continue to ride this one out. It was definitely worth it, though, because at the end of the day, they picked up eliminations, and he picks up 2 more now, putting up at 4 here. So this is still a game that's worthy of earning at least some points, right? Remember, at a very, very early finish in game number 1.
If there's anybody that knows how to play the low ground, it's definitely going to be Seti as well.
Justement, Seti qui a beaucoup construit, justement, parce qu'il a anticipé qu'il se puisse faire tirer dessus. Tout ça, c'est calculé.
Some of these teams that are looming just outside of where he's currently situated, it is going to be tough. And Taysom Merstash, they're going to be crossing just next to Seti, and Seti, he's going to have to continue trying to play from that far backside of the zone.
And meanwhile, Alex still has the high ground there. Just for Had, Hero, it's next door. Big shots going out, teams in the distance here. Hoping to pull Had and Zero. Hero put in the shots here.
Pourtant, il était bien protégé, hein.
For Elan.
Reese and Shari definitely with the 4 eliminations so far. And they're just continuing to see if they can add even more to that number, because even with 4 eliminations, being only 13 above on that surge damage threshold just goes to show you how aggressive this lobby has been.
On voit pas nos joueurs français.
Close one there. Meanwhile, Reek finds another elimination there. Worthy, who had the high ground, gets knocked by Hero. Okay, so they must have over-peaked from their position, and now they've been taken down. That could be a potential huge swing. Could Middle East be winning game number 2? So far, they are setting themselves up surely to do so. Seti rotates across. Vino and Queasy already trying to do this. Back-to-back run, back-to-back number here. And look, Hero is trying to make their way up, but the resistance up top is Vino and Queasy.
If there's one thing that Queasy and Veno love to do, it is take height by that 8th zone. And it's something that they've done excellently throughout 2 games so far. But again, they still have to maintain it. can't count your chicks before they hatch sort of mentality. As Kanata in the elimination feed seems to have found POTUS Eye, Snazy as well. Seemingly as though
Ils sont morts. Ils
definitely
sont
striking
morts.
back.
Baka Par is still alive. Ritual still alive. Even Okis is up right now. Saw him mixed in the feed. Those are a few of the NA competitors that are up. I do wonder, where is Yamzo? As he was also inside the top 10. If teams can continue to keep up that pacing there. But meanwhile, the story right now is how far can Seti push this here? That's it. Rocket Ram usage out. 45. Make that 49 damage above the surge now. Halfway through material. This is a tough spot to be in. Here's Yamzo's look. Mid to high ground here. Moving all the way across. Beautifully done and clean execution on the rotate here. He actually takes down Middle Eastern's hero there. So that was that second to high ground.
Ils ont vraiment la... Ouais. Quasi Veno, hein, toujours en haut, hein, comme je vous l'ai expliqué. Hein. Ils ont un bac plus 10. Ils ont fait des hautes études.
So long as they're in the match, teams are going to have to look out. Cole, though, with Acorn, doing an excellent job taking out Sphinx and Oyo. That's going to clear things up for them as far as these immediate threat players are concerned. Seti, though, again, the fact that he is still kicking, despite being a solo for so long here, MDF, what a fantastic display of his experience.
I just can't wait till we get another listen in later, because you know Cammy and Seti are putting down the comms needed here to navigate through this game so effortlessly, making it look easy. Meanwhile, on the low ground, here's Middle East. Fahad here, representing 4 elims right now. What a big spot to be in, showing us just how good they really are. And let's again not forget, this is the Global's best tier. Joining us for the upper bracket, you had to perform in the upper tier of the 50 to be here today. Kanata falls inside the top 16 there. Very far push for him, but not good enough.
Yamzo and Rise just doing such a great job leading the charge on the low ground at the front side of the zone. Just doing their best to cut off everybody that keeps trying to traverse into their territory. As now Yeman will meet the same fate as so many others so far. Seti, though, still managing to target his way through, but running so incredibly low, only has 8 builds, make that 6 left to his name, hoping that he can find a straggling refresh.
Tyson qui aura fait top 8 et top 11. En vrai, ça va, hein.
In the distance, but hold up. Here's Reed. No ritual in sight by himself. We already seen him do it once. He clutches up, goes in and takes down Mars. Once friends, now
Ritin qui avait repéré son adversaire. Il lui a laissé aucune chance. C'est Tien qui aura fait un kill avant, juste avant de mourir. Encore des points en plus. Des points de classement en plus. Shari qui a réussi à prendre le high.
Clap from the side here. Rise left to do it by himself. He cannot flirt with the storm here. Acorn's clutching at the moment.
Acorn's trying to do what he can. He's got that auto Maven primed and ready, but at the same time, even with the Maven auto, he's not going to be able to miss a singular shot. He has hardly any HP to work with when you consider the shield that he's missing. He's doing a great job so far. Continuing by time, only 1 build left though. This next moment has to be his best. Clixie.
Oh!
As Acorn finds the elimination he needs, just enough builds to keep going up.
Absolutely clean elimination there. Shari now looking for it. They have 9 eliminations.
Whoa!
All the way up. Needs to come on down. Knows where his opponent is, and he's looking for him. But the zone is ticking. Gets right into it. He knows he's got a couple opportunities here.
Un contre un.
Nothing now. One shot will be
Dommage.
enough. No, it won't be enough. Still though, 4 eliminations in the second place there. And Shari take home the second game now alongside Giras.
Seti nearly playing spoily there for Sherry and Giras, but even with Seti having eliminated Giras, Sherry doing
Bravo!
things up. And we've got
and Giras, and I'm sorry if I'm Shari if I'm mispronouncing the names. And Reet and Ritual. Whoa!
Ok, hein, du coup, Quasi Veno qui était première place, ont redescendu 5e place. On a une grosse remontada de la part de Evozat Chari et Enstar G13 Raz qui étaient de base 11e place et ont fini 2e. Et sinon bah je connais pas trop tout le monde.
That's the one.
I'll come back to him in just a second, but just
On
as
est
a
là pour les
reminder,
découvrir.
Sherry and Gidas, and I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names. I'll see myself
Shari.
out. I'm so sorry. I'll see
Can we
myself
get
out.
someone else on the desk?
Yeah, can we get Mini Minor, you take over?
Yeah.
Still though, a huge victory royale from the duo, and I kind of just love the way they kind of play this, right? You can kind of tell, even just after these two games, these games are so hectic. They're not anything like the games we're used to seeing, right? A lot of these other regions, NA and E, which we typically broadcast, you can see, like, even though there's chaos, there's a lot of control, right? It's like, okay, well, I know we're going to do this, and we'll position ourselves. In these last two games, it's just chaos, right? Either no build or everyone's on mad low HP where everyone is one shot to the other. In this case, coming down to the 1v1, it is so hectic on this stage.
I mean, in this situation, we've talked about it almost seemingly all year. When Queasy and Venno aren't on height, there are such a lot more
Points and there's in the world.
like gone about that. And without
We just have long.
having that med mission,
What's going on?
I mean, think of it.
Oh, that fight.
We out vent. Double start.
Oh, is it?
Enough to talk, seeing, but it just has so much more utilization than I think I initially thought.
And it just shows how good this duo are individually. We talk about them so often as Cammy and Seti as a collective, but we have to remember these guys are both incredibly talented players as solos. We've seen them in Dream being
last in
all through.
exciting.
No, Mini Minor, you kind of
populates at mid game because they can.
Two reasons why we saw points.
No, not
So far,
M2. Remember,
C'est parti pour la game numéro 3. Incroyable.
This will officially solidify the halfway mark. To start things off, though, we have to begin here at the Frenzy Farms. Cammy, Seti versus Datus and Stain. We've seen this go either way. We know that Kylix is nearby.
Ok, Camille hein, qui a eu la chance de tomber sur un coffre. Il apparaît une fois sur deux.
The tag, and they're doing a great job. They actually have the left and rights here.
buying just a little bit of time here. Seti also, a couple of weapons at his disposal. Tactical DMR, infiltrator pump as well.
Oula,
Stain
attention.
trying to do his best to pressure to the bottom of this barn. It's going to be Stain actually eliminated first. A nice tag team appearance there from Seti to get the backup.
Ah ouais, ils sont tout seuls là. Ils ont Frenzy à eux tout seuls, c'est incroyable.
And we're already in game 3.
Yeah, this time extremely quick. They secure the eliminations here. Meanwhile, 7 men in Cal Gamer versus King potentially unfolding here. I do know Kanata is battling as well. It seems like he was taken down and eliminated by a different duo. So we are already seeing a very huge miss-up. Meanwhile,
Ok, King.
he will show you why he is one of the
Je sais pas si c'est le King qu'on connaît, mais il est trop fort normalement.
Himself that he does not believe King has what it takes. He thinks King is a bit overrated, but I beg to differ. We have seen what he can do in person. We have seen what he can do in just clean head-to-heads in a box fight type environment. He's incredible.
It's literally what King established his name on, was his prowess when it comes to box fight match opportunities. And here again, King looking for his chance to take down Cal Gamer. Cal Gamer actually gonna look for a brief retreat here though, at the Relentless Retreat.
I like it.
Seems as though he wants to try and look for some
Donc
better
oui, c'est
weaponry,
Cal.
possibly even just looking for a
Je sais pas si
different
c'est le King qu'on
position
connaît, hein.
altogether.
Yeah, upgrade will be important and massive there, especially since he's running out of material there. The Shaka. Meanwhile, Zagu, Peppo, they had the knock, but they didn't get the finish. That's going to be a big mess up. Big mistake, big opportunity lost, but Zagu finds another tag here. Meanwhile, looking for the big opener. Another one there. Okay, chipping away, but nothing significant this time.
That is massive, though, for Skits and Sora. That Skits was actually able to find that revive in the heat of it all. Is now Peppo, Zagu. A few Shieldbreaker EMPs. Curious to see what Zagu actually chooses to do with these. He's gonna opt to try and maybe apply some more pressure onto Skits and Sora with them, or if he's just gonna hold them for the time being. But Skits, now fully aware of the fact that Zagu is trying to break down his wall. Continuing to replace build after build. Skits with the peak, Zagu with the damage taken. It's gonna be Skits and Sora still looking to try and capitalize on this circumstance.
Now be careful though.
Qui ne saute pas n'est pas français.
Indestructible corner. And you can hear the crowd really starting to turn up right now.
Big augment, though, that was just picked up. That rarity check could go crazy, depending on how. I believe it was Skits that might have opted for it. Saw him, one of those common weapons. Zagu, back to full shield, though, but did have to expend both of those big pots, and this battle's taken quite some time. Business turret quickly taken out. And Zagu tried to place there, his pressure on Skits.
Oh, I think he's going to be feeling really confident after that one, but Zagu now completely out of material here. He does have to be careful. His teammate finds a little bit too, so Peppa goes in, fully boxes up. It's all going to come down to hit the shot. Zagu showing us why he is one of the best. Coming directly out of the region of Asia, representing all the way for Japan, and my oh my. Take a look now with Kylie and Fastroki. Man, they're just mixing things up.
Constant trades for the most part, but for Strokey and Kylie here at Stevie Springs, south side of the map seems to be working out relatively well for them so far, having that elimination already, and now that's going to alleviate a decent amount of pressure here for Strokey and Kylie. They don't necessarily need to fully push in just yet. They can really wait to see how they want to actually choose to try and reapproach here, but they're not the only team to mix things up a bit, as now Misha and Teeny just above Bryce and Chubbs. And they might be looking for an opportunity to find an elim or two here.
This is pretty interesting because Teeny and Misha definitely have been having a tough time against Baka and Pars, but Bryce and Chubbs have been jumping in that battle as well. It has been a three-way engagement here at the Shady Stilts and around. So Teeny and Misha trying to mix it up, saying, all right, what can we do different? How can we adapt here? Clearly, they made it to the upper bracket, right? But having a tough time so far. Might be looking like a Saturday appearance if they can't turn up and turn up soon.
Meanwhile, Miro might be stuck in an engagement up against Shari. Is, well, a forced retreat, actually. Cooper, very accurate. Some of those twin mag shots. Miro leading the charge up against his solo. And it seems like it's only a matter of seconds before Shari is completely collapsed upon, doing everything in his power to try and stay alive just one moment longer to see if there's somewhere that he can build off to actually scurry away and escape. But Cooper and Miro, they are relentless. They refuse to let this opportunity go. And it's going to be another 4 points by the way of Elim as they finally close out on Shari.
You got to respect that right there. Cooper all the way with the initial opener, and then the call out, setting up Miro for successes. He said, hey, look, they're one. Trust me. Miro with no hesitation jumps directly in there.
Things are looking pretty good, though, so far for Threats and Buga over at Sanguine Suites. It does seem as though they managed to get their way into the vault. That kind of Stinger SMG certainly going to come play a pretty big part there for Threats whenever they do decide to engage. And a few more battles later on. Clownsky and Grolls, though, a team that we really saw in quite the position last game. It was really their surge strategy that seemed to be a little bit lacking in game number 2. So now the mentality here for Grolls and Clownsky, if they want to find some points, want to work their way up even further on that leaderboard, just try and cement themselves into that top 25. But they've got to work through some other teams before they can find themselves there.
Yeah, and work through those crash pads as well. Having them work against them for a second there, so Clownsky couldn't unfortunately join Grolls on the push to the top, so cost them a fair bit there, but all in all, they have things under control.
A good height positioning, at least. That can definitely help a lot as far as establishing some surge damage is concerned. Meanwhile, inside of Rumble Ruins, you got Rubba, Axe Force, hiding inside of a bush, and a pretty common strategy as well for players, so look for those.
Il ressemble à ça, Axe Force.
With some of that.
Comment il nous a cassé la tête, lui!
Right there is onto Cooper. I know we're just hyping up Miro and Cooper's big eliminations they picked up, but look, Miro's now by himself in the distance there. So
oh, comment il nous a cassé la tête, lui! C'était un truc de fou, lui.
From his teammate. Here we get to see Heroics, Thomas, and Malabuka.
C'était en chapitre 3 en tout cas.
They are up, they are standing, which
On
means they
pouvait
have
plus le
survived
supporter
the
ce mec.
drop. Clearly,
Mais chapitre 4, ça y est,
they're working
il
their
s'est
way
fait oublier.
towards
Heureusement.
the grand finals here and now.
Massive stuff, though, from Malabuka and Thomas, given that they had to sit out for game number 2 because of Kanata and Ager. So
Right.
for them to be able to play makeup time now, just adding to their total point count for the day. Because again, we are in game 3 of 5. So this is, I think, technicality of a halfway mark for a lot of these teams, and this is where you can really start to see the consistency that needs to be maintained come into play.
Yeah, one might say this is the most important game of the tournament here. Between game 1 and game 3, I mean, either you set yourself up for success or you turn things around now and come out a victor. And by that, I just mean top 25, right? That is the goal today. And then, of course, Sunday, get as high as possible, make as much money, and be the winner of that $1 million first place prize. Here we got Pink and Vico. I know we're hyping them up. Definitely a team that has had a lot of success. Although, again, playing off the scrappy drop, but look, they find themselves finally fighting Acorn and Cole.
True, but they had CalGamer and 7-Man also on the opposite end of them. It seemed as though they were kind of sandwiched in that position. So, might be a very tough circumstance for them to actually work around in as well. Here in the heart of Mega City, you got Flixie way up top on the building. Grippe. Seems as though they had a successful battle because Flixie, with 1 elimination, looked as if he just got the opportunity to revive Grippe there as well. But now, from this aerial point of view, opportunities to use these grind rails if necessary for a quicker rotation, but Mega City seems to be relatively safe for the time being. And the way Flixie keeps looking down leads me to believe that he's got some form of idea that Suns and Anon are the team directly below him.
Just outside of the Mega City, King and Phaser Cam here. Very interesting. They've had a very long track from the relentless retreat till here. No elims just yet, but this is a perfect time to go.
Oh, il a pris la jug.
So let's hear the word.
Incroyable.
Thank you, Monster. Like you see, no elims. We obviously saw at the start of the day, CalGamer had a lot to say about Phaser and King's ability. He thought he weren't too good. And King said the same. He thinks they're not as good as they say they are. But these two teams have been going head to head. Not full engagements, but still both teams.
Ce King, il doit être autorisé à jouer chez lui, je pense.
We see them sort of pinching and peeking towards each
Parce
other.
qu'on voit pas sa cam, ça veut dire il doit vraiment jouer depuis chez lui. À mon avis, ça doit être le King qu'on connaît. Hein.
If either of them are going to be making out of relentless retreat and making that vote useful.
Thanks so much, Levin, for that breakdown on whether or not it's going to be CalGamer, 7-Man, or King and Phaser. That's going to be the team that finally breaks through from that initial drop spot engagement. But again, with teams just actively choosing to disengage, have to believe that part of that reason is because they don't want to risk being early eliminated in match 3. Acorn cold, though. They've got some eliminations on the mind because they want Pink and Vico if they can find it. Cold now applying some pressure onto the backside here. Pink and Vico certain to have to keep an eye out for it. Cold, though, just continuing to move around some of these top tier builds. And Acorn, Cold, slight lull in the action as they try to make sure that their approach is as methodical as possible here at Frenzy Fields.
And of this duo here, the highlight player was definitely Acorn in match number 2, where he really went the distance in the end when it mattered. But I'm sure if he can do it one more time, it should be all but solidified inside that top 25. This has been a great showing so far. And again, contested. Half the loot he would expect, half of what he would really want. So to take out Pink and Vico, to send them back to the lobby, to not see them on Sunday would be excellent. They could make a run as grand champions.
But what's interesting is that at Frenzy, keep in mind, CalGamer and 7-Man were there as well, but they weren't when we last checked in just now. So have to imagine that CalGamer, 7-Man recognizing, hey, this just isn't the type of engagement we want to take right now, just like iDrop as a solo. trying to see if he can gather anything from Rift Island. If he's able to get this capture point uncontested as a solo, that will be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and you know, it's worth 15 points.
Il est tout seul sur son île, lui.
The position you want to jockey for. Not a single other team has decided that they want to come up here. This could be his lucky, graceful.
Dire que t'as les gentlemen juste en bas.
Just above them. Could iDrop build a big enough base here to buy him some of a flex? Potentially. Oh no, it seems like the team's actually underneath. Okay, but we jump in with Queasy. Queasy's hurt here. Vino, pretty healthy. They have to double down alongside one another. It's Kylie and Fastroki.
Ok, donc le duo Veno contre un autre duo.
Had success down there, and now, because of that, inevitably, it puts them on the pathway.
On voit que ça push fort.
Of Vino and Queasy.
That was a big shot, though, that Kylie just landed onto Vino. Took down his shields almost entirely, so Vino's gonna have to.
Oula, il va quand même pas boire une slurp. Ok, il lui balance. Ok, il a donné sa slurp à Fastroki. Du coup, ça met les deux parties à égalité. Oh, ce qu'il lui a mis. Ah, il est trop fort, Veno, wesh. Il a vite changé la donne, hein, j'ai envie de dire.
Starting to see whether or not he could try and pressure on the other side of these builds from Veno. It's a nice pressure application from this duo. All they've got to do now is finish it.
Vino making Monaco very proud here so far for the upper bracket. This fight now approaching that time where you start to think, how worth it is it? Can we get out of here safe and sound? Is there an exit plan for us? You have to assume they're feeling the same way. Yup, the demeanor says so.
Ok, ils essayent de fuir. Ok, les deux ils sont partis des deux côtés. En tout cas, ça fait plaisir pour Veno parce que du coup, il a fait beaucoup de dégâts. Ah, mais c'est marqué à droite en plus. Les dommages. Attends, je vais voir alors pour Veno. Ok, il a 100 en dessous en fait. Ça va, c'est rattrapable. Eux, ils ont... Là, les deux teams là qui s'affrontent là, ils sont bien aussi au niveau de la Storm Surge. Donc ça met les deux à égalité.
Meanwhile, Pink, I believe last checked in, he had around like 16, 18. That's practically nothing. They've invested so much time here now that they don't really have another option other than to close this fight out because they need the materials, they need the refresh of Cold and Acorn.
Acorn, Cold,
grosse tête. C'est pas en or, mon gars.
Pink and Vico
voilà.
shut down and sent back to the lobby. And that is the best team for them to eliminate. They already have pretty much top 25 now.
C'est la pioche FNCS d'Afrique.
It was so good to kind of run it back one more time. Boxes him up, finishes him off. This is how excellent Cold is in the pocket. Well played.
It just did not seem as though Pink and Vico are ready to tackle Cold from that position, but being towards that Frenzy field side, they're going to have a great opportunity now for Acorn and Cold to make an approach towards the zone from the dead side rotation, so curious to see how that actually pans out for them later on. But as for Rise and Iamzo, solid as ever in terms of applying damage.
They're also the only team that finished top 5 in every
ça fait extrêmement mal ça.
Of the three majors.
Moins 116 d'un coup comme ça là.
Really showing how flexible they are season to season. And also shows you they might just be the team this weekend. They might just be that team, but let's jump into the action here. Malabuka, hurt, 3 HP, forced down, and the pressure unrelentless. Coming in from the Middle Eastern team, Rapid here, really pushing back. They've already claimed Thomas.
Faut vraiment qu'il se heal là.
Malabuka wants nothing of that.
Et il est tout seul hein.
The ME boy says, hey, listen, you're up. Sit down. We got this.
Absolutely insane though, just how quickly Malabuka was able
C'est mieux, il reste à sa place, je crois.
From that position, because it really looked as if QNE and Rapid were about to finish off this duo. But with Thomas being out of the picture, Malabuka, granted, we know that he's capable of making those solo.
Tout ça, c'est de l'anticipation, hein. Les murs qui met dès qu'il arrive au spawn, il met déjà des murs. Ensuite, après, il se met full metal. Il conserve dans ses murs du soin. Mais c'est 200 IQ, j'ai envie de dire, pour Malibuka. Non, c'est vraiment... en plus d'être trop fort sur le jeu, on dirait que c'est un petit génie. Hein.
Looking to replenish himself here, but the Storm Surge is active. And Banyak just says, hey, you know what? I want nothing to do with this. It's already looking pretty tough. I'm going to just go ahead and rotate on out of here. They're going to crash pad their way across, and that should be all she wrote.
And to be fair,
effective rotate.
It's a lot of map to cover, though, for some of those north side teams.
Ok, se positionne en zone.
Things have been breaking down, but still, Banyak and Karmi, again, doing a great job utilizing those crash pads. Cammy and Seti together as a duo, that's something that we haven't really seen too much of at this point in the game. Curious to see how their end game goes now that they're both up and running.
They're checking bushes, they're looking around, they're trying to see who is lingering about. They already have themselves their third elimination.
Ah, c'est dommage qu'ils l'ont pas vu là, le mec qui a pris... qui s'est volé dans les airs là. Ah, il aurait pris cher. Hein.
Meanwhile, looking at the top 5 here, Ritual and Reet are leading the charge by a fair margin. The only team on their heels now, Cold and Acorn.
Du coup, vu qu'ils ont tué un adversaire ici, ou peut-être 2 adversaires, j'en sais rien, ils profitent de leur construction pour faire des méga constructions pour qu'ils puissent un maximum se rapprocher de la zone. Et tout en conservant la hauteur. Du coup, c'est les maîtres du monde, quoi.
Another revive. It's going to have to go through, but this time it's going to be Grippe turning the favor onto his teammate Flixie. But that med missed as well. Seems Flixie is going to be just fine for the time being, but they've still got to keep pushing forward. They still got to keep trying to move in, try and stay in the zones wherever possible.
Ah, ils sont là, nos Français.
2 revives into the match already, Monster. You can tell that they're definitely having some tough times with making these rotations.
And I know we're jumping in with Monaco's Mustache and Falcon Tayson here, but I want to give a lot of credit to Baka and Pars, who have a great position over the lobby right now. A bird's eye view, they are one of the few teams poised up for potential high ground, and they have just continued to show us what they are made of. They are now officially slipped their way into top 5, really working their way up. But hold up.
Hello.
Tayson's got a lot of problems knocking on his door. Ping has got knocked in the mix there. So while he was focused on Tayson, other teams started to look inwards, and not sure Tayson understands that there was a down body there.
Or maybe he did and might be interested in trying to pursue it.
He's thinking about it.
Kyrie hoping he
can get everything
in time, but it's going to be too much for Tayson. Interruption on that revive now.
Wesh!
Seeing if they can finish what somebody else had started.
Wesh, c'est passé quoi là? Le mec il a réussi à s'enfuir là, alors qu'il était mort à 100%.
Swap out for that double legendary slurp juices. But for Stash and Tayson still powering through some of these builds that have already been pre-established here, and that's just a freebie for them.
Yeah, it's all in all a net positive. You get the damage that you need. You start inching your way towards this end game, then looks like it is going to be a Slappy Shores finish here. It's going just outside the mountain there. Vino's already marked up the position they want to be in.
Vino!
The ice capsule.
Best player of the world, man.
That infinite upwards pressure here, not making it look easy at all here. He's going to have to concede for a bit. It's cost him a lot. He's going to have to take some of Vino's inventory as well. So Vino trusting in Queasy to lead the rotate here.
It's all about that middle, though, at this point for Queasy, especially when you know that you're having some pressure being applied to you from the high ground. The more durable your builds, the better. As far as understanding, though, which way he wants to target Queasy, recognizing the fact that he's got his chance right now to just keep building up. And again, with the
j'ai envie de te dire,
teams to really take a second.
Queasy high ground, easy. En plus de ça, vous avez vu là, il a relié pour pas qu'il tombe. Ça y est.
That's what they do best. Limited builds to just get there, connects it to a structure in the distance, but Cammy and Seti are looking back.
C'est Ikemi.
Not today, not in this lobby.
C'est eux, je crois, qu'ils ont la seconde hauteur. Ils sont un peu bloqués à cause de Veno et Queasy.
Most resistance on the front side of the zone here. But if they don't put pressure back, we know what's going to happen. Vino, Queasy will run with this.
Seti and Cammy aren't careful. Keep in mind where their builds were starting to go towards. I mean, with the direction that Queasy's headed at least, it almost seems as though they might headbutt each other on the high ground at the moment here. But instead, it's Acorn, a bit sneaky with the crash pad. But he's continuing to hang around. He wants that front side of the zone, but hanging just on the edge of it.
And I just love how we're seeing, again, NA's best and EU's best, right? Back to
Ok,
back here,
rejoins
two
son
different
partenaire.
perspectives, two totally different layers. Acorn and Cold, again, just excellent low ground teams playing to what they play best, and they're doing it well here. Meanwhile, you do, of course, have your other teams fighting for height, so an excellent play to watch unfold here, but we jump into Pars, and end game from Pars here, too. No Baka. The least amount of elims we've seen so far, but it is a single one. So far of the three, they put up numbers every time. Now we jump in with Muzz and Paper. Turning online right now, 6 eliminations. Could this be their game? One big pop-up will put you up in that top 25, surely.
It's been a relatively quiet day for Muzz and Paper so far, so this could be a massive moment if they're able to seize it. Sitting on the low ground, though, Acorn and Cold. They can tell there's players trying to make their way around the edges next to them. 2 crash pads remain here at Acorn's disposal. Cold following closely behind.
Montre un peu la hauteur là.
Cammy and Seti, though.
Oula, Camille et Seti.
An idea all their own.
Oh, this is
Eh mais ils lâchent pas l'affaire hein. Ils ont tant que la zone pour prendre la hauteur.
The new high ground. Cammy, Seti coming in out of nowhere. And they
Du
switch
coup,
around.
Veno obligé de redescendre.
Vino's fully healthy.
Du coup, oui, vu que c'est pas trop leur spécialité, ils meurent.
And now Queasy's by himself, but still excellent end game for them. They're gonna be happy with the top 10. Meanwhile,
Wesh, ils ont perdu à cause du high ground hein. C'est même pas les mecs qui les ont tués. Ils sont redescendus, ils se sont dit ah on fait quoi? Ah bah on est mort.
And unfortunately, Muzz to follow suit, but Merstache still up and kicking. Seti, though, with a massive.
Wow.
And that's the back-to-backs now onto Robot. But the
Oh,
materials
dommage,
refresh
il est mort.
might not do him any good. He's not able to break into the zone in time. Acorn instead will be here to play.
Par contre, le pompe, regardez comment le pompe il est fumé. Hein. Vous avez vu hein? Tu tires une balle, tu casses une construit, c'est n'importe quoi, wesh.
And Acorn's doing an excellent job pressuring with the breach of shotgun, making sure no one's got a chance to free.
La grosse balle.
It's still going.
Ouh. Oh!
That's 11 eliminations.
Oh là 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 là! Eh le mec là qui a fait top 2, il le mérite hein.
It's exactly his plan. It's just too easy if you're Acorn and Cold. But the best part still is that moments away from figuring out just how the day is actually going to wind up. And we've got our very own Frankie down on the floor to see what they have to say.
I do. I'm so excited to talk to these
Bonjour,
guys.
madame.
They're known for one of the most here.
Relation a clash of playstyles, the best at what they do. And throughout this game, you know, we saw a couple of height changes between, you know, arguably the best height team in the world, Queasy and Venom. And then I was like, oh, look at this, Acorn and Cold. They're on the low ground. That's exactly where they thrive. And then, yeah, they ended up on the high ground to win the game.
Yeah, that's what I've been looking at, Vivid, right? You're looking at the teams and seeing if the things that they do so well in their region, can that translate here on the global stage? For Cold and Acorn, the answer is absolutely yes. They have been dominating on these layers.
Ah c'est l'Arcpec ça. Oh je m'en souviendrai de ce l'Arcpec ça. Oh il les a fumés, il a fait un 1 contre 2, il les a fumés à la vie de ma mère. Ok donc deuxième position. Remontada, Queasy et Veno. Remontada. Ils ont gratté 3 places. Camille, Seti, ok, nanana.
I'm just gonna slide. Yeah.
Have something
Not now though, but like on the road. Got it. Ready? You're gonna jump on the ramp.
Yeah, go ahead.
This. I'm just gonna slide.
Yeah, I hit it. We're good.
Just gonna run. Run left, run left. Going deeper. All too low ground. I built the box for you as well.
Nice, bro. Really good job. Getting heavy.
Are you good?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Got it. Good luck right here, look here, look here.
120, got it.
40 white, 60, I got it.
Ah bah ils l'ont code direct.
Low PC.
There.
Plan that there is to play. You know, playing one of the most
C'est trop
difficult ones.
facile. C'est limite ça, j'ai
I
envie de
think
dire.
what impresses me the most, if you look at
Eh
literally
mais
only
franchement ce duo, méfiez-vous. Je vous jure, méfiez-vous. Ils sont... Et surtout lui là,
esport, doesn't matter which one.
Surtout le mec à gauche là. Le mec à gauche, je l'ai vu. Hein.
Comms.
Eh, il est bouillant.
There's a lot of
Eh, il est bouillant.
And he said, and
Obviously, every single game, they're going to of them all of these hills that Ritual and Reek can take advantage of. The fact that they're landing there means that they get early priority to a lot of those positions. And every single game, they're going to make sure that they base up on those high ground positions to make sure that any of the players rotating to the center of the map, which, by the way, a lot of players like to rotate.
for people doing it.
Thank you for having me. The crowd people came in. No, it was with all kinds of songs.
Hello.
And like apply to.
So cool. We've different, right? So
Right about the point.
halfway with.
I think we should be doing a lot better in terms of
It's great.
the leader in a duo.
What are regarded as a veteran? Have you? What's this? Gonna playing the best.
I don't understand.
Thank you.
Right, these chances took
Worth rolling cut.
never exploded fun.
Still have one team,
Just them out that way, right?
you know, into the locks.
And even
We're about to Cammy and Seti.
Ouais, bagarre.
But they have shown.
Bon, j'espère ils vont se réveiller les gentlemates là.
Inside of that top 25.
Bah oui, ils atterrissent ici. Ça y est, on les voit enfin, wesh. Eh, réveillez-vous là, les Français, wesh. Eh, vous arrive quoi là?
Team that definitely needs a good matchup for things to start picking up for them. Podesai, Snazy starting to get some shots from the sky, but here at the racetrack, we've watched this for 3 games now. 2-1 in favor of Thomas and Malabuka. Kanata trying to see what he can do. It's a double fire, but Thomas, for the time being, he's gonna go down. Kanata and
Ouh!
looking like they
On dirait qu'il s'est pris un coup de deagle.
Malabuka on the wraparound of the reboot band, trying to make sure that he can keep Thomas and his own hopes alive for this game number 4. Agers Kanata so incredibly low, but Malabuka down to half HP. Now jumping on top of the building in the reboot band.
Une balle de pompe.
Barely keeping
Fais gaffe,
up
Malabuka.
Kanata and Agers.
Oh, this is gonna
Pardon?
save his chance to
Pardon?
get back. And it down on the
Pardon?
He has no ammo left.
Whoa.
It would be huge if Agers could just find a way to just push up. Finish
Pardon?
off, but it's Malabuka who does it yet again.
One of the few times where a tactical DMR is going to look like the saving grace here for Malabuka. Thomas as well with the
Ah mais Malabuka, wesh.
is boying for good reason, because this score, it's already being telegraphed. 3-1 now in favor of Thomas and Kanata, and keep in mind, or excuse me, Thomas and Malabuka, but for Agers and Kanata, they're literally in 35th place. And that's bound to get pushed even further back now.
That's where you start to feel the nerves and you feel like you're in the danger zone. We got Cal Gamer, 7-man going up against King and Phaser Kami yet again. And this is where it's going to get heated up.
Eh mais eux ils aiment... Eh y'a que dans Jeux où tu peux tirer en l'air hein. J'en reviens pas hein. Même moi je vais faire pareil maintenant. À chaque fois que je vais être dans les airs, je vais voir un ennemi, je vais lui tirer dessus maintenant. Je vous jure, c'est la nouvelle méta maintenant.
Right idea though. Sometimes you just know when a fight isn't yours to make happen. And for 7-man, all his ammo's running relatively low with that disengage from Phaser. 7-man and Galgamer now gonna have ample time to try and loot out Relentless Retreat. Slappy Shores action has been relatively quiet. We've seen a couple of circumstances with Tayson. Really just nice surge strategy.
Chico.
Going for the most part at this location, but for Trulix and Chicho, they've also had a relatively quiet time so far.
Yeah, for them, they just got to start building up that confidence. Because even though they'd have the cushion that you could still fall into day 2, we were just talking about it, that's not something you even want to test. Anything can happen in that lower bracket. That's why it's paramount for these teams to qualify today, give themselves a break, a chance to readjust. And Bugha and Threats is one of those teams that's outside of that bubble. And I think that's something nobody would have expected coming into today.
One thing that we've definitely noticed from the past 3 games that have played out so far, Threats and Bugha, they've never been a duo. They've never gotten a chance to actually participate in that late game circumstance together. So maybe here in game number 4, seems as though Threats is on a mission to right.
Oh, la dégris!
Some nice tags.
Alors eux, leur stand surge là, ça y est, je crois ils l'ont.
A lot of pressure being applied to the duo a little bit south of them.
Yep, just like I was talking about with Cammy and Seti, just one big game. This could be the start that Bugha and Threats need to try to propel themselves, if not to the top of the leaderboard, at least inside of that top 25, and that'll give them that chance to readjust. PH in, Kitos, they've been doing well so far as well, and that's something that you want to see. Even if you're qualified already, you want to keep up the pace, continue to build that confidence, because even though you might have Saturday off, you have to be prepared for Championship Sunday. $4 million on the line. That's not something to take lightly.
And again, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be flashy, but for Thomas and Malabuka,
I'm going far, I'm going far. I got spot. I'm dead, I think. 60 wide, I'm dead, they're both here. He's getting shot in the back though, he's getting shot in the back. One is running back to farm and one is trying to leave.
Non, non, j'avoue que ça c'est... Non, non.
Farm to break after. Toilet, here. Okay. He's alone. Nice! Get.
yeah, for Thomas and Malabuka, it's definitely looked pretty flashy. When you're going for that 50-50, when you're representing that there's a reason why this is your POI, at least that they're going to be choosing to drop at, or their established drop spot. Racetrack's almost feeling like a POI with how well they have managed to just take hold of it.
Yeah, and I'm not too surprised. It was a couple of majors ago where they were contested. And I wouldn't say it was the highest placing of a contested team ever, but it was one of the highest placings in an FNCS Grand Finals for a team while contested. So they've had that preparation throughout the year, and they're putting all that preparation here to the test. Just like Duke and Edgy, trying to pick up the pace here. They are your FNCS Grand Finals champions of the NA region as well. They already started off with 1 elimination, so you know they at least have some surge in their back pocket. But as the lobby and the games have shown throughout the day, you need more than just some surge. You need an ample amount of surge in order to survive this game.
And for Duke and Edgy, they need a lot of points as well, because you have to remember they entered Game 4 in that 46th position. So quite a lot of places to jump up in the leaderboard. They want to actually find themselves in that top 25. But right now, leaderboard is the least of Frostroki's concern. Right now, it is all about surviving and maybe, if he's lucky, finding an opportunity here to look for a pickoff onto Yuumi, because Frostroki, if he's able to find this knock, or if he's able to just be patient, he might actually have a chance. So look for grabbing his teammate's reboot card if he hasn't already.
Yep.
Full disengage. It's still plenty early enough in the game where a reboot ban opportunity could definitely come up clutch.
Especially here where the zone is pulling forward. A lot of those teams are going to begin to rotate, whether they try to go to the slow side or directly straight towards the center. That is going to be one of the few safe opportunities you will have, as the augments are already beginning to come out. Possible rarity check, and a lot of these teams, you might be saving some of those augments as well, but King and FaZe or Kame, you saw them disengage out of Relentless Retreat. They're outside of the top 25, so a game like this is necessary to come out on top, grab as many points as you can, and he's already getting challenged for that high ground, instantly gives up. Phaser and him are a little bit too separated for my liking, and probably theirs as well.
Striker, though, decent top-down overview. But it's going to be Exodus with the immediate trading of that big shield potion, making sure that his teammate is able to maintain as close to full shield as possible.
Ah ouais, il a déconné là.
You might be looking straight, but there's plenty of teams sure to be looking at you as well. Got to make sure that your backside is covered. And that's going to be an immediate drop down into the safety of their tower that they've managed to build up. Phaser and King, though, just outside of zone, just kind of landlocked for the time being as well on this beach outside of Relentless Retreat. It does not seem as though they're going to have a very easy time working their way in.
Nah, and you kind of saw them there on the leaderboard, 22 points overall. As it stands now, that bubble, that 25th spot is at 58 points. So it's not too far for any one of these teams to really climb up the pace, but the usual Misha and Teeny switching up their drop spot, not liking how their games have been going so far, so they're sticking to what even qualified them to the Global Championship themselves, and that is these sneak attacks. They're going ahead and trying to cut off somebody's boot path and take advantage while they can, and that's QNDX that they're going after, and they have a 2v1 for the time being, and they're wasting a lot of their resources just trying to build for it, because that is the extra loot that they need. Instead of farming up at a drop spot, this is the strategy that they're going to use.
L'autre, il a pu s'enfuir parce qu'on leur a tiré dessus. Hein. À tout moment, il aurait mangé un 200 là avec son missile. Avec son... ça s'appelle comment déjà? Missile bélier? Non, bélier roquette. Bélier. Ou roquette. Non, roquette bélier.
Fully step into the building, and again, it did seem as though QND kind of recognized better. Thought that maybe the loot's a little bit too free in this circumstance.
Just a huge beam from Okus, trying to go ahead and get as much surge as possible. I think for someone like him, he's been doing a good job so far, trying to pick up these opportunities where he can, and that's the thing. Reet and Ritual probably didn't even really see exactly where those shots came from, who was surrounded or all around them, and see they're going towards the south side of the zone, that they have to be careful. Okay, as long as they continue to go south, we saw the zone was pulling up. So this will be the congested side. You already see in the mini-map, there are so many teams going ahead and grabbing their spot all around them. That's going to make it that much harder, but Misha and Teeny keeping things on the run. The weapon cache is going to come up, and that's 7-man and Cow Gamer that they're trying to contest for it. A little bit of a mistake there with the briefcase turret, trying to go ahead and use it to their advantage. Teeny with a nice shot from the side, backs up towards his teammate. 7-man Cow Gamer. This could be their opportunity to try to advance, clean up this elimination, finish the damage you already put down. But for them, it's just grabbing the real estate, grabbing all that piece control, so when the cash does pop, it is all theirs.
Well, as far as 7-man and Cow Gamer are concerned, keep in mind, 7-man, decent loadout to take this challenge up against Teeny and Misha. Left side peek, maybe not the most favorable, but they're certainly still making the magic happen. Builds continuously being edited out for both sides and destroyed in the process here. But Teeny, Misha, they look as though they really want at least one, if not both, of these eliminations now. They know that 7-man and Cow Gamer are bound to have some excellent resources and materials, but again, if you're Cow Gamer and 7-man, we saw their loadouts. They don't necessarily need to pressure this. They've got exactly what they were looking for, can easily disengage at this point.
Yeah, and being another team that's outside of that top 25 bubble, they're just trying to play the safe game, scrape by, try to get some points, and that's Reet and Ritual are almost trying to do the opposite. They're trying to take the fight to Malibuca and Thomas. Thomas and Malibuca are one of those teams that talked about how good they're playing as a contested duo, but they're in 23rd place. Going down here, no placement points. They only get to 8 points for those eliminations off spawn. This is not what position you want to be in. And you can see they're not playing safe. Even though they did get some damage, they're not going ahead advancing on it. They got their spot in zone, and they're just trying to hold on to it. You see the loot switch. That's respect between teammates as well.
Malibuca definitely understanding that there's a reason Thomas is known as a fragger in the EU region. And with that sharp tooth, seems as though Thomas feeling a little bit more comfortable with trying to aggress even further onto Ritual and Reet, but we'll have to tune back into them a little bit later on here, because keep in mind what Pink said in that mid-game interview, but we'll get more insight on that later on, because right now we've got some great insight coming your way via Mighty Miner.
Thank you so much, Taco. Now, we saw a huge game from Acorn and Cold right there, which basically solidifies their spot in the grand finals on Sunday. We can see them doing everything in their power to make sure that Pink and Vico don't have the same success. Now, Pink and Vico are actually in 29th place right now, so they're just dipping. They're getting out of there. Of course, getting inside the territory of Camry and Sethi as well. They don't want anything to do with it. They want to make sure they're avoiding fights as much as possible, because they've only got 2 games to make it happen.
With only 2 games left, you could see with Pink and Vico, they talked about it going down, but as all that happened, Merstash is now in a 1v2 position. trying to back up,
Oula, il est
trying to do as
en,
much as he
il
can
est
to
en
try
2
to stay
contre 1
alive.
là.
That's Duke and Edgy on the other side. They need these points, and it's a 2v1 situation, and Merstash is not
Boom.
backing down from the challenge. A nice shot, but that's going to be a miss. Merstash takes a little bit of damage, but he has more than enough heals to try to get himself into tip-top shape, and it's only really a matter of time. Duke and Edgy, if they realize that this man is a solo, that could be their opportunity to strike. At this stage in the game, with only 2 games left, you have to try to get as many points as possible.
C'est trop
Even if you don't get
dangereux.
in the top 25 here, you want to get yourself as close as possible.
The hesitation, though, is definitely not there as far as Strokey and Kylie are concerned. They see a solo. They're ready to completely try and run him down because it's going to be Inshari left to fend for himself here. A nice double elimination there, Strokey and Kylie. So the plan, clearly a success from their starting point. A great job getting that reboot advance so they could play the game out as a duo.
285 above the Storm Surge threshold. Alex and Worthy trying to take advantage of this opportunity that is right before their very eyes. Peeking around towards the backside of the zone where they're trying to predict some other teams are trying to find a little spot, a little crevice, anything that they can hang on to. But as you saw on the mini-map, not too many teams are there. Acorn and Cold, you said it yourself. They have already got their spot into Championship Sunday. But you know as well as I do, there's more than just money on the line. There's more than just the Axe of Champions. It's about calling yourself the best Fortnite duo in the world. And that's what Cold and Acorn came to do. Specifically Cold. He was at the Invitational along with Acorn, different duos, but he placed third. He fell just shy of both Queasy and Vino and Cammy and Seti. And he's out for redemption here as Merstash in another 1v1. He takes out Oak, is trying to keep the show alive.
So unfortunate for Oakis, but Merstash, he might have found one elimination. He's got a lot more work ahead of him, though, just from this position alone here at the Creaky compound. As a solo, Merstash is really gonna have to try and play things safe from the backside of zone. Probably gonna have to wait, recognizing the fact that there's some other teams around him, but no, actually, he can't afford to play safe because the surge damage threshold has just tapped in. And with that in mind, Merstash now, it is essentially now or never. He's got to make a play. He's got to find some damage, and he is just barely managing to put himself into that safety net threshold. But he's looking to challenge for more.
Pardon?
That's just a daring play, very, very brave.
Grâce à ça, il a réussi à faire sa Storm Surge.
Players in the EU region overall. He's willing to take those chances. He's willing to but since he didn't land a shot,
Ah, c'est incroyable, wesh, ce qu'il a fait.
You said it yourself as well. He's just trying to find his way in towards the zone instead of waiting, letting time.
Oh là 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 là.
Those duos pass him and try to hold.
Grâce à ça, il peut partir tranquille, le petit lapin.
Try to find his spot inside of the zone.
Donc, King, il a besoin de faire de la Storm. Donc, c'est lui, King. Mais c'est le King qu'on connaît, hein. Sauf qu'il est en plus vieux, quoi. Des années ont passé. Je crois que c'est lui, hein. Ouais, si, c'est lui. Parce que King, il le fait avec un 1. Wesh, il est... En plus de ça, c'est un Brésilien, ouais, c'est sûr, c'est le King qu'on connaît. Wow! Quand je vous dis, il est trop fort, ce môme, wesh. Il a jamais lâché le jeu depuis qu'il est trop fort, wesh.
On surge damage, another shot like that, though, and they might just be ahead.
Nope, luckily there on the tail end. Couple of shots go through, 65 above. They do get the knock, but chances for them to be able to take advantage might not necessarily be there, but that's not necessarily what they were looking for. They were looking to move through. They were looking to get themselves a spot in towards the zone, and this is a replay of that shot. Just amazing coming out from King.
Trop bien visé.
Pressure is on as well. He is one of the teams outside of that bubble that needs to put in that work.
And let that be a reminder, I think, for some of these teams, even if you have that hype positioning, if you peak just
J'avoue que moi, j'avoue que mettre des tirs de snipe dans la tête, ça te met trop bien au niveau Storm Surge.
Yeah, and a lot of these players, you know, they might lose sight
Eux
of
sont
that
chill.
suppressed sniper being in the game. They might forget, or they might be forced to peek to get the surge for themselves. And those the
Eux ils sont vraiment bien. Ce qui leur manque juste, c'est des balles derrière. Mais en vrai, ça va.
From one team that has their spot for a team that's fighting for it. That leaves Edgy all by himself, trying to clutch up. Acorn and Cold, first place on the leaderboard. They're faring well with that Storm Surge, even though they're just forced to continue to move north in this zone. They're bypassing a lot of those teams that are on that Rift Island, which honestly looks a little bit more active than we've seen in some of these previous games.
But for Cold and Acorn, when you know for a fact that you're already guaranteed that Championship Sunday, like we just talked about, they could do essentially whatever they want, even if it means just completely running down some other teams. Yeah, again, Pink and Vico talked about it. They mentioned it. Edgy and Duke, though, still looking to work together here as all these teams continue to pile in to the Eclipse's state. The way the zone is pulling, mildly unforgiving, given some of the water surrounding the area, but definitely something that these teams can work with.
See the little bounce pad junior trying to boost themselves to the front side of the zone. They don't want to be one of the last teams there. And unfortunately enough, they will be in the back of the pack, but they instantly are trying to build for some elevation. They don't want to get stuck on that low ground, especially in this zone. That was what I was about to say. It could be a roller coaster of emotions. We're going up mountains. We're going across rivers. Anything can happen here, and they get into the box. Duke's being forced back. A lot of damage is there.
Oh, Duke, il a... Oh, il a tellement été surpris que... Il a perdu tous ses moyens, quoi.
In our fifth and final game.
Yeah, Acorn and Cold do not care. It does not matter who it is. As long as you appear in front of them as a target, they will look to eliminate you. And they've been extraordinarily successful all day so far today. Malabuka and Thomas, though, they've also had a pretty solid day as well, Jacob. But again, this is definitely an instance where they could look to cement themselves in that top 25 game 4 goes well.
See them just trying to get that damage. Bob goes down, but at least his teammate Axe Force is still alive, trying to grab them as many points as possible. But at least they're inside or at that 10th place spot for now. Probably got it secured, but you don't want to leave it up to a pro, but you don't want to leave it up to the judges. As you see another replay. Oh my gosh, what did we just witness from King? Does he go back to back? There is no way. This man is on fire. I dare anybody on that stage to try to step in his path now, because he's looking like an avalanche trying to demolish anything in his way.
Look at the
Wesh, il nous refait une World Cup 2017 là. Il nous refait une World Cup 2017 ou 2018, je sais plus là. Il nous refait un carnage là.
I'm so sorry, but King, actually, that's his turf.
You back a dog into a corner. This is exactly what is going to happen. They realize the pressure that they're under. They realize what's at stake. Even though they do have tomorrow if they fall short, that's not something anybody wants to stress about. You finish the job here, you get it done, you give yourself a break, a chance to relax and VOD review. Laha, Mixon, another one of our teams that we've seen do great things throughout the year. 157 above the damage threshold, even though that might not seem like a lot, but from what we've seen like from the lobby, there's a lot of teams that are around those similar numbers, but luckily for everybody, if it turns off for now, even though it wasn't a far rotation with the bounce pad junior, it's just step by step. That's the way a lot of teams got to take it, just one foot in front of the other.
And for Blaha and Mixon, it's certainly one tarp in front of the other as they keep trying to make their way forward. Look at Cammy and Seti, though, all the way at the very top.
Podasa est tout seul.
And this is some primo real estate. If you are Cammy and Seti,
j'espère qu'il va clutch.
it does seem as though they're going to have to
J'espère ça va bien se passer.
From this little throne that they've established for the time being, but not without laying some suppressive fire. So everyone below them first.
Yeah, and leaderboard, kind of see the top side of what's going on. But 19th, 20, 21st place, down. 24th place, down. 26th place, even down. So if you're outside of that bubble for now, this is your chance to shine. This is your chance to pick up those points. And you kind of saw it at the start of the day with Queasy and Vino. 90-plus points for that Victory Royale combined with 7 eliminations, so anything is definitely possible. And that's why Bugha and Threats are putting themselves to the test now. They have 4 eliminations and barely any placement points just left. There's 24th place and 24th.
Il a toujours la même tête,
Bugha. So there's still so many possible points up for grabs.
But the best part is, Threats and Bugha, they're at least still together as we enter this late game, which is something we have not really had a chance to see from this duo all day today. It's been repetitive as far as solo clutch circumstances are concerned, and they just haven't really been able to bring anything to fruition because of that. Pink and Vico, though, under a lot of pressure here from Malabuka and Thomas. So many other teams surrounding them. Sometimes it can be really difficult to tell just which direction your builds are actually getting targeted from.
They survived the off-spawn battle between Acorn and Cold. This is their chance to shine, even though they don't have much to work with. We've seen them do amazing things before. Vico, one of the more aggressively skilled players, and forget on top of the world when it comes to Fortnite. They're going astronomical, building off of the moon towards relentless retreat, trying to hold on to their high ground. They have the rocket ram for backup as well. So if anybody looks up, tries to chop them down, they do have a plan B. Pink getting a couple more eliminations. Thomas, Malabuka bypassing everybody else. They're trying to stage to the front side of the zone, looking back only when they have to. They have their eyes set on the prize for now.
But I wonder if anybody realizes just how far up Cammy and Seti are. Vico, he needed a refresh instead. He'll find himself waiting for... Sometimes it can be really difficult to tell just which direction your builds are actually getting targeted from.
They survived the off-spawn battle between Acorn and Cold. This is their chance to shine, even though they don't have much to work with. We've seen them do amazing things before. Vico, one of the more aggressively skilled players, and forget on top of the world when it comes to Fortnite. They're going astronomical, building off of the moon towards relentless retreat, trying to hold on to their high ground. They have the rocket ram for backup as well. So if anybody looks up, tries to chop them down, they do have a plan B. Pink getting a couple more eliminations. Thomas, Malabuka bypassing everybody else. They're trying to stage to the front side of the zone, looking back only when they have to. They have their eyes set on the prize for now.
But I wonder if anybody realizes just how far up Cammy and Seti are. Vico, he needed a refresh instead. He'll find himself waiting for game number 5 to begin.
Ouais, du coup, ils utilisent le propulseur.
So right now, with the rocket ram, who he comes crashing down on is another story we decided, because Yamzo and Rise, they're under fire right now. Yamzo's gonna drop all the way to the water, realizes, tries to escape, but not able to. Mixon and Blaha instead, the only ones seemingly able to continue pressing forward in this mid-low ground layer.
4 solos running around this lobby full of duos.
Squeezie et Veno toujours à la hauteur, hein.
These guys are impressive, consistently finding a way to go for that high ground. Just a test here, just like in the first game, they're looking to hold on to it, get that victory royale. Another elimination being found by Malabuka. Their total as a team does move up to 5. 12 teams remain. These are the points that they were looking for. They started this game in 23rd place. This game alone, if they come out on top, could qualify them to Championship Sunday, but the fight continues. Cold and Acorn just trying to tear everybody down, even if that means it's their NA counterpart as Pars and Baka fall.
If there's one thing that Cold loves to do, it's play disruptor on the low ground layers. Because now Seti, Cammy, they're actually going to be able to retake height.
Ok, c'est qui prend la hauteur.
They're no longer here. At some point, they winded up falling. Queasy himself potentially eliminated from this match.
Ah ouais, mais en fait, les gens le mate se sont fait exploser, hein. En vrai, hein. De vrai, hein. J'espère au moins les voir jouer à match 5, hein. Oh là 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 là. Je m'attendais à mieux. Moi qui a sorti le maillot, tout ça, je m'attendais beaucoup à mieux. J'espère... déjà, je suis content qu'ils se sont quoi aujourd'hui. C'est le... Ça fait du bien pour le cœur et pour le mental. Cette victoire d'aujourd'hui, heureusement. Et il a fait un carnage quand même, hein, ce Sphinx, hein. C'est vachement tendu, hein. Je crois que c'est la meilleure game celle-là, hein. Je vous le dis honnêtement, hein. En termes d'agressivité, c'est la meilleure game celle-là.
4 solos running around this lobby full of duos. Squeezie and Veno again. These guys are impressive, consistently finding a way to go for that high ground. Just a test here, just like in the first game, they're looking to hold on to it, get that victory royale. Another elimination being found by Malabuka. Their total as a team does move up to 5. 12 teams remain. These are the points that they were looking for. They started this game in 23rd place. This game alone, if they come out on top, could qualify them to Championship Sunday, but the fight continues. Golden Acorn.
Ouais, bah, gros, ils switchent tellement que je comprends rien.
The only ones seemingly able to continue pressing forward in this mid-low ground layer.
4 solos running around this lobby full of duos. Queasy and Vino again. These guys are impressive, consistently finding a way to go for that high ground. Just a test here, just like in the first game, they're looking to hold on to it, get that victory royale. Another elimination being found by Malabuka. Their total as a team does move up to 5. 12 teams remain. These are the points that they were looking for. They started this game in 23rd place. This game alone, if they come out on top, could qualify them to Championship Sunday, but the fight continues. Golden Acorn just trying to tear everybody down, even if that means it's their NA counterpart as Pars and Baka fall.
If there's one thing that Cold loves to do, it's play disruptor on the low ground layers. Because now Seti, Cammy, they're actually going to be able to retake height because Queasy and Veno, they're no longer here. At some point, they winded up falling. Queasy himself potentially eliminated from this match. We're seeing everyone below, Cammy and Seti, just doing what they can to stay alive. But Thomas and Malabuka, they have been on a rampage in these lower layers.
Yep. Cammy gets another one onto Muzz, finding him as a solo. Another player is going to drop. Sphinx and Poyo, who absolutely came out of nowhere on the NA region to claim their spot here in Major 2. But they don't want just the spot. They want to take over. Thomas finds another elimination, taking down Seti. Now the high ground has changed, and they're trying to keep it for themselves. Acorn gets sniped out of the air with the sharp tooth, and now we're into our final 4 teams left alive. But 2 of them are solos. One of them is Cammy. He's trying to do what he can to try to bypass with that men miss, falling down low to the low ground. He goes down. A 2v2 situation. Sphinx and Poyo.
Ah, il a le pompe qui casse tout.
Their hands, but a nice shot's gonna be traded off. But it down onto Thomas, and they
Wow.
on top. They might.
Franchement, c'était encore un peu dur à comprendre là ce qui s'est passé à la toute fin.
It's still in first. Yeah, it wasn't.
Step it up. Just knows he will not.
It's just picking up.
Goes on with that game.
And about top. Now look right now, M Sherry and Rue sitting on that. 20 really need to come on. They're going crazy, but even someone like Booga and Threats, right? They've kind of been relatively quiet.
And then 1 per each of the regions in OCE, Brazil, Middle East, and Asia. So that is currently what the regional breakdown is looking like so far through the upper bracket.
Yeah, I think for me personally, the NA teams have impressed so much, right? Of course, they do make up a big part of the lobby, but I think position right priority
to the and then a little. Can you have
final region?
Let's break it down by the numbers. Currently, as we look at this list, behind.
Yeah, I'd say right. Best player in the world, a lot.
Bracket.
Our final already
spot. You saw being on there.
Chill on when you keep
Sphinx from a chance. Even myself said see as well.
Just contain 5.
Of itself, and this is
and Kanata quicker as far as the drop is
Alors là,
le
moment où tout le monde attendait. Hein.
Kanata's got to work with trying to break Thomas's initial builds. AJ is going to follow it up with the Maven Auto. That's going to be Thomas down for the count. 1 knock already. AJ's taking full advantage of the siphon as well. And another benefit is
alors attention, Malabuka.
Yeah, basically gave himself, you know, a full loadout minus the heals, and you see Malabuka now on the run, grabs that slurp truck, and now he has decisions to make. Do I try to fight the 2v1 while I have the underhand, or do I go ahead and try to disengage and just already see it on the mini-map? He's just trying to survive. Even though they did lose the off-spawn battle, they know they have their spot secured, so now it's just for bragging rights.
Extremely unlikely that we see Malabuka try to lap back anytime soon here at the racetrack. He knows that it's going to take some time before Aegis and Kanata fully clear this area out. And if he wants to get Thomas's reboot card, he might force himself into waiting. But the wait is over as far as Threats and Booga are concerned. That's going to be a quick elimination to start things off for a team that desperately needs it.
Yeah, you see Threats taking advantage of what is usually a triple chest on the side of that mountain. Mixing goes down. That's not only important points for Booga and Threads, that's a Storm Surge to really give themselves a little bit of a cushion because we know that's not going to be enough. But another one of our off-spawn battles that are paramount for our team success. King and Phaser, Cowgamer 7-man. Shots are being fired. Phaser's going to quickly disengage. He doesn't want to give up too much. He wants a chance to heal. You see, he has big pots, and if King can get to him, that'll allow him to heal up as well.
But even with the Vault card, Phaser, he can't charge into it just yet unless Cowgamer and 7-man have it in their best interest to just prioritize that. But King applying a little bit of pressure here from a distance. Keep in mind the resources though. Builds not looking the best as far
Advantage of what is usually
to lap back anytime soon here at the racetrack. He knows that it's going to take some into waiting and Kanata fully clear this area out. And if he wants to get Thomas's reboot card, he might force himself into waiting.
C'est quand même incroyable qu'il y ait un fight à cet endroit.
As far as Threats and Booga are concerned, that's going to be a quick elimination to start things off for a team that desperately needs it.
Yeah, you see Threads taking advantage of what is usually a triple chest on the side of that mountain. Mixing goes down. That's not only important points.
Incroyable.
That's a Storm Surge to really give themselves a little bit of a cushion because we know that's not going to be enough. But another one of our off-spawn battles that are paramount for our team success. King and Phaser, Cowgamer 7-man. Shots are being fired. Phaser's going to quickly disengage. He doesn't want to give up too much. He wants a chance to heal. You see, he has big pots, and if King can get to him, that'll allow him to heal up as well.
But even with the Vault card, Phaser, he can't charge into it just yet unless Cowgamer and 7-man have it in their best interest to just prioritize that. But King applying a little bit of pressure here from a distance. Keep in mind the resources though. Builds not looking the best as far as 7-man is concerned. And Cowgamer, again, seems as though he has none at all. So this is definitely going to put Cowgamer and 7-man's push to a halt, and that is more than enough time for Phaser and King to get into the vault here at Relentless Retreat.
Yeah, both of these teams need to have a solid performance if they want to see Sunday right here. Otherwise, they'll have to go to the lower bracket and earn it yet again. But you see a switch up of what we saw last game. King and Phaser this time around getting control of that ball over towards Relentless Retreat. But instead of just disengaging, 7-man and Cowgamer are still looting up. There's a lot of loot there to grab. And what a huge battle going down yet again. But Cammy and Seti, they're separated, but they're trying to pincer them in. They're trying to surround from multiple angles and trap them in that little barn.
One of the most common fights that we've seen so far today. And Stain and Datas, though, holding their own. Now, what a way to represent Asia, though. I mean, we talk all the time, ever since the Invitational, really, where we saw some of the potential, I think, from Asia's fraggers. And so Datas and Stain looking to try and follow that up as much as possible. They have been going toe-to-toe here with Cammy and Seti. And granted, Frenzy Fields hasn't necessarily always gone their way, but it's definitely made a little bit of an impact against Seti and Cammy because they had to go nuclear, basically, the last two matches to play catch-up.
Another one going to break down a lot of early game skirmishes. With your back up against the wall, it almost leaves you no choice but try to get the elimination points. Axe Force, Robob going against PHN and Kitos. Kitos and PHN actually do need this. They are outside of the bubble, 26th place, and a nice shot to try to back down Axe Force. They pounce, they get the 2v1, give themselves at least a one-man advantage. Kitos trying to heal up. They're not wanting to give them that opportunity. Dropping down into the palm of their hands. They're attacking from both angles. Time is running out unless a miracle happens here as Axe Force a little bit
all the time, ever since the Invitational, really, where we saw some of the potential, I think, from Asia's fraggers. And so Datas and Stain looking to try and follow that up as much as possible. They have been going toe-to-toe here with Cammy and Seti. And granted, Frenzy Fields hasn't necessarily always gone their way, but it's definitely made a little bit of an impact against Seti and Cammy because they had to go nuclear, basically, the last two matches to play catch-up.
Another one going to break down a lot of early game skirmishes. With your back up against the wall, it almost leaves you no choice but try to get the elimination points. Axe Force, Robob going against PHN and Kitos. Kitos and PHN actually do need this. They are outside of the bubble, 26th place, and a nice shot to try to back down Axe Force. They pounce, they get the 2v1, give themselves at least a one-man advantage. Kitos trying to heal up. They're not wanting to give them that opportunity. Dropping down into the palm of their hands. They're attacking from both angles. Time is running out unless a miracle happens here as Axe forced a little bit of a jumble and a misstep, but his teammate is there to rise to the occasion and get that elimination. So we see our first team in the lower bracket facing against our last chance major teams.
Beavs and Ketos try their best. Ketos especially in that instance, but you got one below you, one above. Difficult for anybody to actually find themselves on the benefactory.
I like this. I like this. Pink may have called it griefing, but no, this is just using your brain. Acorn and Cold, even though they've already qualified, letting Pink and Vico qualify out for their spot, which means they're going to get contested again on Sunday. So they want to make sure that team has this little loop, push them back as much as possible. As Anon and Suns, they need a big game here going against Queasy and Vino, who already got their spot secured. And I like the aggressive nature coming out of this. Start to build that confidence, get some points, and then you could probably take what they've been doing and put it to the test yourselves. But it all really comes down here if they want to actually fight it, because Anon looks like he's disengaging. He doesn't want to get trapped between both Vino and Queasy.
This is a very risky team to try and tango with when your position in that top 25 is on the line here. Suns and Anon, they cannot afford to get eliminated just yet. But Queasy and Veno, they're not the sort to let anything go. We've got some player listen-ins coming our way, starting with Kanata.
I got a Maven. 16 white. Going to you. I'm running.
He's on my right. Yeah, I'm running him.
20 white.
Kill him. 40 white, 40 white, 40 white.
Nice. Oh, the one's at the height. He's at the height.
Get the finish. Get the finish.
They're dead.
Nice. We need to kill him, bro.
He's running. He's running back. He's just running to rise. He's trying to not give us the kill points.
He's at the hut right now. 9 damage. No, he ran, bro. We just camped the card. He's a great.
See a lot go down in that listen in. The great teamwork, the great chemistry, but then the plan for the future. They're gonna camp that card so that way Malibuca can't come back and get it safely, which leaves him as a solo at the start of the game. So remember that, because if he does amazing things, he did it all by himself. As Vino just so much damage from the storm, with just a sliver of HP. You gotta imagine as it continues to pop low. Yeah, I was gonna say a med kit's probably getting popped. Queasy does have some splashes. He's just trying to hound, be the predator towards his prey. Suns and Anon gotta figure out what they're going to do, because they're just getting followed right now by Queasy and Veno.
Mais lui, il aura gratté sa stamp jusqu'au bout, hein, le Queasy, hein. Il était tout seul. Non mais, Queasy, il était tout seul. Il y avait 2 teams. Au final, il y a une team qui est partie. Du coup, il y a une team qui est restée. Queasy, il est resté avec cette team pour qu'au final, c'est la team qui fuit contre Queasy. Non mais Queasy, quoi. Je dis ce que je vois, hein. Putain, mais... Queasy, il est tout seul à aller le rusher, wesh.
Such an impressive day so far from Baka and Pars. We've really been seeing them take an aggressive stance and come out on top in numerous situations. And I would expect to be all the same here. And Kanata and Agers, even though Racetrack might have gone their way, running into Yamzo and Rise is a different story altogether, as Agers now forced to bounce, has to leave Kanata to be eliminate collected, and they went from wanting to camp Thomas's reboot card to now Agers potentially having to worry about whether or not they do that. Yamzo and Raz will do the same to Kanata.
Yeah, this is very troublesome for Agers and Kanata, the duo that needs at minimum a top 10 performance here in this game if they're looking to skip.
Putain, mais son mate il est mort, wesh. Alors qu'ils avaient le spawn à eux tout seuls, quoi. Sérieux.
Ends up in a 1v1. Baka gets the piece control away from Teeny. Not really letting him get any footing in this round. The real estate here and that piece control is going to be important. And another shot getting fired. Teeny getting back down little by little. Baka just playing a game of peekaboo. It's working out for him, but everything good comes to an end eventually. And Baka takes a massive shot. The thing here, it doesn't matter where he's at, because he.
Non, je crois que c'est le Teeny que je connais, lui. Hein.
That was a huge shot here for Teeny, but it's not over just yet. Bryce and Chubbs now deciding to join
Tennis,
the
c'est
fray.
pas le mec qui est apparu tout d'un coup là en solo cash cup, personne le connaissait, il s'est qualifié d'un coup en grande finale. Je crois que c'est lui, hein, mais je suis pas
They
sûr.
don't seem like they're fully aware just how far back Teeny and Misha actually are. So a successful revive does come through. A 2v2 potential situation here, but again, Misha and Teeny bound to be relatively low on resources after that last engagement.
You got to imagine it to be true. That's Teeny trying to hold the covers, give his teammate some time.
Non, c'est pas la grande finale, c'était les grandes finales de solo cash cup solo, je dis. Pour être précis.
That's what they were originally fighting over, and that's probably what drawed Bryce and Chubbs over to this direction, but they don't know that he was weak necessarily. So for them, they're just trying to play the game. They're outside of that top 25. They want to give themselves a fighting chance to get towards that championship Sunday and not really fight towards that Saturday. As we tune on to Agers, you can see him just trying to go ahead and bypass everything. But let's go ahead and go and listen in to see what happened in the beginning of this game.
I mean, when he gets in, I'll be able to see him and just run. 30-60 on him. Nice. I got headshot.
What? What?
Oof. That is really all that can be said.
Oh putain, lui il va pas dormir cette nuit. Hein. Enfin, lui c'est sûr. Enfin, c'était hier, mais. Enfin, c'était avant-hier, mais. Lui il a pas dû dormir. Hein.
Sometimes it is what it is. But Yamzo, he's got a lot more to deal with for the time being. Being a little skillful in the rotation, quickly reminded that there's still other players waiting around in this lobby for him.
And you can see towards the mini-map, we're on kind of edge of zone towards the southeastern side, and that's where a lot of these caches will spawn, either south towards the east, where a lot of these teams are congested at. And just judging by the lack of the slurp juice, they haven't grabbed theirs just yet. They're hoping to try to beat another team to that punch. And even though they found some dangers there, just a little bit, you can see that they have not too many teams nearby, as we see the other side of what went down. On the edge of the Mappy, that is a huge he is just on fire. He's feeling it. Look at the confidence.
Can't blame him.
Ah ouais, même lui il était choqué, wesh.
Really meant to do in that sort of situation, other than just fall victim to Yamza there.
Heureusement lui il a pris un
Fortunately
kick.
for Agers and Kanata, they're still going to be able to play things out as a duo successful.
Par contre là ils sont loin de la zone, hein.
There for Agers. The health replenish as well. Got a handful of slash splashes left to work through. So it's seeming as though the dream is still alive for Agers and Kanata.
For now, at the very least, but sometimes those are the wake-up calls you need, especially when you know it's our fifth and final game of the day. And while they're facing all that madness on that side of the map, Bugha and Threats sticking to what they know works, which is those slow side rotations. They found themselves towards the top side of the zone and kind of just looking. There's not too many teams in their mini-map. And if you look even further, there's only about 3 teams directly in front of them. So they got themselves a safe spot as long as they continue to pull that zone. And my only question, Taco, is going to be how much surge do they have? Because if they're on the slow side, there's not going to be many opportunities to grab it.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, because with only one elimination, and from what we've been seeing consistently throughout today, there have been circumstances where teams have had several or more eliminations and still found themselves just barely above that surge damage threshold. So if Bugha and Threats making these dead side rotations, yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot if you don't have any damage with it, because then you still have to compromise your positioning ultimately just to find some damage.
That's
Damage
big.
is something they do plenty here for Acorn and Cold.
I was going to say that was big, but
You still have to compromise your these dead side rotations. Yeah, you might have the best positioning in the world, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot if you don't have any damage with it, because then you still have to compromise your positioning ultimately just to find some damage.
That's
Damage
big.
is something they do
J'ai rien
plenty
compris, là.
here for Acorn and Cold.
Tout le monde a rien compris.
I was going to say that was big, but it comes
Mais
to an
ils ont
end
eu.
yet again, and Pink and Vico outside of that top 25. So I think Cold and Acorn have defended their drop spot. They're actually in 24th place. They have 74 points. That's going to be a tough one to watch.
Eyes on Cooper and Miro as well. one of our teams in that 28th position, but for the team on our screen right now, Vanyak and Karmi, they've also got to ensure that they're able to stay within this top 25 because, again, just barely being above as far as the points are concerned, it does not leave you in a guaranteed position. There are ample teams that could look to leapfrog over you if you aren't careful. So we'll definitely keep that in mind and continue trying to be as methodical as possible with their movements.
Yeah, you can basically see the tail end of that top 25. Pink and Vinko down 74. Batman, Booga, and Rapid 80. The points continue to climb the more you go up. A lot of these teams don't really need to do everything. They just need to do the bare minimum as Snazy gets spotted out by himself. And Shari and Rue, they have a chance to sneak up. Snazy's all by himself. Podesai, we already saw him go down earlier on in the game with a strike from above,
c'est mort,
the sneak
c'est mort.
attack, and it's worked to perfection.
Putain.
And Shari and Rue, they get that elimination, and because they were the team in the 25th spot. They started the game with 68 points. Now you can kind of count them up, 72, but they still haven't passed up Pink and Vico at 74 points.
Snazy was just so focused on teams that weren't on that Rift Island. He had no clue that those two were sneaking up behind him. The ultimate crouch maneuver, essentially, all the way up until they had their precise moment to pounce onto Snazy.
Eh, c'est trop cheaté, Criquet. Hein.
Well from Shari.
Vraiment.
Again, another team just barely managing to hang on to that top 25 threshold. They are currently 25th and looking to go higher.
Yeah, and this is a team, you know, Major won, they became champions, they stayed towards the top of leaderboards in duo cash cups.
Ça pousse vachement vite, hein, ces fleurs, je trouve.
Mimic that, just like Cooper and Miro, who are almost not even duoing this season. It was left to a coin flip of all things. And what a coin flip it was. I hope Cooper kept that coin, maybe framed it on a wall.
One would think, but I guess it maybe depends on how this weekend goes possibly for the duo. Regardless, they've done an excellent job as a team, but more importantly still, their placements, you saw it jump just a little bit. Part of that due to the fact that Cooper able to find a really nice elimination here, and this is a massive one as well. A good shutdown onto Cold, essentially. And that is huge for Cooper and Miro because they have had some problems in their rotations dealing with some of these teams that are already guaranteed to be participants of our Championship Sunday. So knowing that Cooper was able to find that elimination on the Cold, it just makes the rotation all that easier.
It probably builds a little bit of confidence too, because even though they went down,
Ils préfèrent faire un détour dans la tempête pour éviter d'être trop près des ennemis. Ouais.
Likely with how they've been playing, and when you see Cold go down, when you see Acorn go down, it makes that much more better. It's like a sigh of relief. That's one less dangerous player in the lobby that I have to go through towards the very end.
I mean, 3 out of 5 teams in our top 5 are just not in the lobby any longer. They've all been eliminated. Only Cammy and Seti and Ritual and Reed, but again, the point difference so high. These guys can essentially choose exactly how they want to wrap things up for today. Meanwhile, Booga doesn't get that same luxury. Booga and Threats have to be on their A game.
Yeah, it's going to be a must. 44 points. We saw the threshold around 72 points. Thinking about 28 points to try to get inside of that bubble or within contention, which really isn't much as long as they continue to have an upward trajectory in a lot of their games, much like Kanata and Agers. A lot was holding them back was Thomas and Malabuka in that off-spawn battle, but now they have a chance here to hold on to their own destiny. Fate is in their hands, and they just need to be able to find a little bit of a refresh. But where are they going to get their refresh? How long can they survive without it? If they stop just short of going deeper into the zone, they got themselves the edge for a team like this with 329 above the damage threshold. That's just going to be enough for now.
Considering that Agers had to get a reboot off onto Kanata, they were a little bit of shambles.
Yeah.
When you think about how this game started out for them, sure, that initial 50-50 might have been relatively successful. Granted, they would have definitely loved the double elimination factor there, only getting one onto Thomas, Malabuka forcibly retreating, but it is an endeavor to say the least, to reboot your teammate and then find yourself successfully deep enough into a late game lobby to potentially catapult yourself into the top 25 leaderboards for today.
Yeah, just moments ago in the feed, Booga taking down Mappy. They're just trying to continue to control their own destiny as well. Teeny taking down Fast Roki. A lot of these teams outside of the bubble, and I thought I just saw iDrop go down to Ping, so that's another team eliminated out of this lobby. King and Phaser, though, they're still in it, and they're here to win it overall. You see the loot getting passed around. They have quite some distance to cover and a lot of players to run through if they want to make it there.
On the bright side, though, they're not the only ones that have a decent amount of map coverage to go. Granted, when you are one of those last teams to come in behind everybody else, your primary concern is going to be, well, depending on where those other teams are situated, depending on where they're positioned, they might be able to cut me off entirely. And that's exactly what King and Phaser are trying to avoid. They're trying to make their way to zone as quickly as possible so that they can be the ones controlling the way that the lobby actually flows.
Yeah, they don't want to get held out. They want to do the holding. But they're rotating parallel to both Muzz and Paper, a team that is inside of the top 25. I wouldn't say they're as safe as can be. Anything could still happen. But Phaser's doing a good job of leading the charge. Found themselves a little bit of spot where they can hold up for now, but they're getting focused by a couple players in this lobby. Alex Aworthy being one of them on the other side. He continues to peek through the cone. 81 below, Taco. This isn't looking good for now.
They might not have the damage threshold just yet, but they do have a few crash pads. Phaser gonna instantly use one to jump a little
comment il a crash pad?
A spot where they can hold up for now, but they're getting focused by a couple players in this lobby. Alex Aworthy being one of them on the other side.
Okay.
Continues to peek through the cone. 81 below, Taco. This isn't looking good for now.
They might not have the damage threshold just yet, but they do have a few crash pads. Phaser gonna instantly use one to jump a little bit further, a little bit more up on that height as well.
Oh no!
All the way across the lobby, and that's gonna be an instantaneous knock just about onto Phaser. King now under heavy duress, trying to do what he can, forced to build down, forced to drop numerous layers, but again with this legendary slurp juice, will be able to barely prevent himself from being eliminated by the damage threshold tags.
Il se prend des... Quoi? Il se prend la storm?
It is tough stuff right now for King.
Yeah, if it wasn't Trulex and Chicho on
Ça
the
va,
other
ça va,
side,
ça y est.
Storm Surge, they're below the threshold. Even with the Slurp Juice pop, they're taking a lot of damage, but Rise Yamzo, team who took down Kanata and Aders in the beginning, well, it's just Kanata this time around, but if he can go back to his OG self, we used to call him one of the more prolific solo players in the game, being able to pick up a massive amount of points, a huge amount of clutches. We saw Agers do it in their major championship run. Now it's Kanata's turn to pick up the pace.
Ah, il met sa poitrine contre le bureau quand il joue. C'est incroyable ça. Je sais pas si c'est fort.
A nice little gift though, just on the ground, managed to pick up some materials. It's going to provide him more than the
Déjà, il a le pompe cheaté là qui arrache toutes les construits.
But still, Kanata also now with this nicely breacher in tow, breaking through the floors of some of these builds and just hoping that there is not a full team on the other side of it, because you're looking at a 1v1 with Kanata, decent chance, but 2 versus 1 situations is tough for any player to deal with.
Incroyable.
There are more teams left alive right now that are outside of the top 25 trying to earn their spot than there is inside of the top 25. And placement points haven't even begun to kick in yet. That puts a lot of pressure on the King. He's already survived Storm Surge once. He has the Slurp Juice. He has a couple minis, but he's still 123 below. He's not even peeking out, going for shots. He's just trying to survive it. If he looks down low, there's a bit of loot. I thought I saw the tip of a big pot down there as well, which will be crucial for his survival. He finally looks down. There's a med mist as well. He found a treasure trove and a miracle to keep himself alive, but he knows he needs to go. He knows he needs to continue moving forward, get towards the zone. You don't want to fall behind, but a nice shot from the backside. King forced to stabilize himself, stop the rotation. That means a lot of teams are going to be able to hop over him and get to zone first.
Again, right now, it seems the King, he's trying to prioritize positioning, just hoping that some other team, some other solo gets eliminated first, and that could potentially put him to where he actually isn't below that surge threshold. But Kanata right now, just barely clinging on, but it won't be enough. Finally finds himself eliminated from the lobby. unfortunate run there for Kanata and Aegis in our final game of the day.
Yeah, at least he got this experience of playing on the big stage because he's going to have to go again tomorrow against our last chance major teams, Zaxidus and his teammates on the high ground. They started this game on the bubble. You got to imagine they've been climbing up that ladder just like Bugha and Threats. You talked about it yourself. You even casted it throughout the day. They have yet to play a solid game as a duo. This is their chance. The solos trying to push back both Alex and Worthy as well. A lot of damage being done here by Storm Surge, not even these players.
We're seeing so many teams though struggling with Storm Surge.
Mais c'est abusé que la Storm Surge elle s'arrête jamais, wesh.
They can focus entirely on how they choose to actually tarp through some of these congested layers. And right now, Miro, forced into a solo position, won't have any sort of time to try and help out Cooper in the process. We are simply too deep into these moving zones at this point. Is now Miro finds himself in a decent amount of pressure, a couple of slap flashes, all of his slap flashes actually going to be expended here. Miro tries to find an opening from the backside of the zone. Nutty from the side though. Clean shot onto 7-man. And a quick build up to utilize his med kit.
Quick moving, quick reacting, but not quick enough. That's Cowgamer and 7-man. A big game needed from them. They could boost themselves into that top 25 as well. Bugha and Threats, 5 eliminations so far, peeking down low, trying to recycle some of these builds because they know they don't got much left. A refresh or a siphon mask, anything is what they're looking for. And they even split it between them two, so it's even less for an individual. They fall on top of Alex. Can they get that elimination? Can they get the siphon? Yes, they can. Off the back of Threats, who gets a double elimination and push themselves into the top 10.
Just barely there. No, Bugha actually gonna find himself trapped just outside. He won't be able to make it in time. And the knock from that surge damage, that's so tough that the Storm is going to be his ultimate competitor. But Threats still up. Threats still trying to move forward. Doesn't have much left in the Medness though. Needs to find a refresh at this point.
It's almost 100% necessary, but these points that he's grabbing here, staying alive, 7 eliminations as well. This could be enough, but it's definitely going to be a buzzer beater if I've ever seen one myself, and he's continuing to bypass everybody. But on the high ground, it's Yamzo and Rise that are trying to take this last and final game of the day. A few teams actually that are stuck down low still need this shot to try to qualify. Misha and Teen is one of them. Julex and Chicho, they probably already got their spot, but Threats does it yet again. Another elimination, trying to go ahead and keep him and Bugha's dream alive.
But for Threats, he didn't find any sort of white heals which he needed. Granted, it might not be necessary. Almost found the closing shot there on.
Ça va, ils ont fait top 2, Bugha. Top 2, Bugha en vrai. Hein.
And we are seeing one of NA's finest with a victory royale for the day close.
I call them one of the most dangerous teams.
Ah bah putain, bravo hein. Ah, le niveau il est toujours aussi incroyable.
By the way, guys, like we're one of the best. I feel like they were a little. I think they're too special. I wasn't really keeping a close eye on Yamzo and Rise, but of course, last game of the day, they're gonna be like, hey, by the way, guys, like we're one of the best teams here, by the way.
Yeah, 100%, man. The Ginger Giants. Hey?
Ça c'est beau. On entend encore les chants des gens. Le mate.
Okay. You go ahead and read out first place from all the way up there. All the way up there.
All right.
Who's that?
So in first place, you have Agents Cold and Dig Acorn. They have been phenomenal.
Oh, Veno, pour une fois, ils sont pas premiers. Par contre, Cold et Acorn, je connais pas du tout. C'est qui? Ok. Oh là, regardez le trophée. Regardez le trophée. Un truc de fou.
Qualified. A couple of names. Let's
Alors
just call them
qualifié
out. Obviously, we saw some of the big ones. I want to
Cozy,
quickly highlight
Veno,
Zagu right
Camisetti.
here and Pepperclip. Obviously, we saw them back in the days of Invitational. For them, though, back then,
Fastroki,
they didn't quite hit as
Thomas
hard.
HD,
But
Malibuka,
now, making it
Robab,
through to Sunday,
Axe
they
Force.
have
Wesh,
time
Axe
to prepare.
Force, il s'est qualifié, mais il est trop fort.
Yeah, very, very excited
Bugha,
to see what they bring on day number
Tyson.
3. Some very cool strategies from them throughout the day, you know, farming some of that surge.
Et High Drop, incroyable. Et il y a Tenny aussi. Tenny, il est trop chaud, wesh. Je crois que c'est le Tenny que je connais, lui. Hein.
Ultimately, it was iDrop and Mappy that do make it through to the pod point.
I'm expecting that they will have the opportunity to be uncontested in the lower bracket tomorrow.
42e, ils ont fait Podasa et Sneezy.
Yeah, 100%.
Et heureusement, il y a les loser brackets, hein, j'ai envie de dire. Hein. Je suis très content qu'ils se sont qual.
Expected to go through.
Kind of, is there any team direction people
in the lower bracket as we take a look at this?
Alors, lower
list?
bracket,
Just give me
hein.
one from each of you, just a little taste, a little more.
Alors il y a Vadi, Kaizen, je dis Kaizen, Clément, N, Vortex.
Hey, Levin, we were hanging out a little bit with some of the fans, and as they were walking
Après,
around,
je reconnais
I believe I
personne,
heard
hein,
this
les gars.
multiple times, quote unquote. Clicks is going.
Vaniac
to
et
win.
Carmi.
So I'm sure the arena will be absolutely crazy.
Batman
tomorrow
Bouga.
seeing him compete, so I'll be excited for that as well.
Incroyable, lui. Je le connais pas, hein, mais Batman Bouga, je le connais pas. Hop, du coup, t'as Podasai, t'as King.
I've got to round this out. Agers and Kanata is are 50-50 on that.
D'accord.
Right?
Bah, t'as 4 personnes que j'ai reconnues. Hein.
Back to day, but
Bon, j'ai un message pour toute la France entière. Écoutez bien ce message. Il va falloir vraiment se sortir. Va vraiment falloir sortir le ultra instinct. Parce que je suis d'accord qu'il y a des nouveaux joueurs qui rentrent dans la scène compétitive et qui essayent de tenter leur chance comme les loser brackets, j'ai envie de vous dire. Mais faut savoir que dans la finale, là, dans les winner brackets, enfin le premier bracket là, Day 1, celui qu'on a vu, il y a trop de personnes que j'ai reconnues. Contrairement au loser bracket. Ça veut dire nos Français, ils ont réussi à se qualifier en loser bracket. Ils vont rencontrer les monstres que j'ai vus là dans ce live. Je serais super étonné, vraiment étonné, si la France y arrive. Vraiment, avec tous les monstres qu'il y aura en grande finale, je vais être très étonné. Si on réussit cette win. Donc voilà. Donc le 15, c'est-à-dire là aujourd'hui, allez donner de la force dans la chaîne de Gotaga ou sinon dans la chaîne de Solary Fortnite. Moi en tout cas je serai dans la chaîne de Solary Fortnite, vous savez tout. Bon allez les gars, salut. Et il n'y aura pas une autre vidéo, hein, je compte que faire celle-là, hein, parce que les Day 1 je les avais pas vus, donc normal je les regarde en rediff. Vu que je la regarde en rediff, bah du coup j'ai décidé de lancer un stream. Mais sinon, de base, je lance pas de stream quand je regarde des matchs comme ça. Donc voilà, j'espère que ça vous a plu. Et je vous dis à très bientôt pour donner de la force à nos soldats, les Français. Bisous!